going on, everybody? Smiley's Garden here, joining for the organic takeover this month. We got Dutch Blooms, Josh Rutherford with us. So many of you guys know Josh. He definitely is into the regenerative and does some outdoor gardening. So happy to have you here along, Josh. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself or say anything along the lines of how people can see you or whatever. But
yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm stoked to just be on and kick it, man. It's super fun. I don't do a lot of the late night ones. I'm an early riser, so it's a little bit out of my zone, but it's fun, because I didn't always used to be such an early riser. Anyways.
Yeah, no doubt.
But yeah, I do the Regen Conference, which the Regenerative Organic Cannabis Cultivation Conference, which has been on hiatus with COVID shit. And it's just kind of where it's at with that. But I think it's just kind of worth mentioning to everyone that's listening. A lot of folks have been tuning in, and I get a lot of emails, and I'm dying to get back on tour as soon as we can. But it's just the damn COVID,
Yeah, no, dude, that does suck. I'm wearing the hat, you know what I mean? So I was at the Michigan one, and honestly, man, that was I was blown away. Like, you guys brought the community love and the whole spirit of sharing information and just the whole the seed exchange. I had never seen anything like that before. That was something really cool to experience. Just so many killer genetics there, and you couldn't buy any of them. You can't. You know what I'm saying? It was like, no,
right,
we'll see you, dude, or we'll trade for them or whatever. But that was just a really cool, different experience. So, man, I appreciate you guys bringing it like that. You know what I mean? Like, that was the biggest thing. I walked away feeling like connected to everybody that kind of came out. You know what I mean? Because even the speakers that when they weren't talking, were hanging out in the lounge and talking with you and whatever. So good job on that, man. I hope it gets back going. That's definitely a highlight.
That's, I feel the same way, dude. I feel the same way, that I got to connect with everybody and like make a whole slew of friends and trade genetics and run different people's stuff that, just like you say, you can't buy it. People have stuff that they've been cultivating personally, and they got from a friend or a relative, and they've held on to, and all the stuff that you do with genetics. And then, you meet somebody and you have a connection and you want to share that thing. It's cool. It's a real cool thing. And then you cross that back up, and sometimes it goes back and forth, and then you get created internet relationship, because, and it's just a really fun, it's been a really cool blessing and fun thing for me to be a part of,
Yeah, that's cool, man. So, I don't know if you want to follow along in chat, but you can bring it up. I'll let you.
How do I do it?
You would have to mute a sec and then bring up the YouTube thing. Either in the Zoom in the top left corner, there's it'll link you to it, or you can just go if you can find it quick enough to.
I want to do it on my phone because I don't know if I can. I'm on my tablet, so I don't.
Okay.
But I'll try to figure it out here while we talk.
Yeah, no problem, man. That's what I was just gonna say. It's a lot of fun, and I know a lot of people that are in chat like to kind of get questions thrown out or whatever. So
yeah, no, thanks for telling me to do that, because it's better when we can do it that way.
So is it starting to warm up by you, man? Are you guys?
It is.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Starting to gear up and get your plans going, and
yeah, we got plants out in hoop houses. There we go. We got plants out like Monday, and I'm building a new hoop house, and so the beds are in. The beds are pre-existing, and we're building it over them, and we have it all lined up, and the plastic and the fans were supposed to show up Monday. And I'm just like pushing this motherfucker as hard as I can, trying to get 4,000 cuts done on Monday. This is my plan for Monday, honestly. So what are we at? Wednesday? My plan for Monday was to get 4,000 cuts done, transplant 2,000 or 1,500 into 1.5 gallon pots, put plastic over this greenhouse, and put a fan up and hot wire it.
Damn.
None of that happened. I mean, none of it, but we got about 800 plants in a 1.25 gallon pots, and And, you know, we got the cloners kind of cleaned up and ready for it the next day. And then we just had to like grab some PVC that I had on site and make some quick makeshift duct tape hoops and throw plastic over it. And so that was a long way to answer your question, is that it's starting to warm up, but we got a frost last night and, you know, the plastic did its job. And so it's happening, you know, it's cool.
That is cool. No, and that's why I was thinking, oh, sorry, that's that.
I just said it's really fun, man. It's we're on I don't know if you guys are experiencing a warmer spring, but we're having a warmer spring than usual, and it's really fucking pleasant.
Yeah, no, I know it's got everybody excited. We did have a 70-degree day or high 60s kind of couple days there. Unfortunately, it dropped here. Just it's kind of got colder here today for us, but similar thing. So that's what I was thinking, man. Like, I know you do majority of your stuff's outdoor, right? I mean, you're primarily, other than just little veg indoor or something.
Well, not exactly. I mean, I guess I don't know. I'm an indoor grower at heart. Prior to moving on the property that you see, I was indoor warehouse and had never really grown outdoors. But I had grown tomatoes and vegetables and stuff in greenhouses and outdoors, and I wanted to move to greenhouse solely. So that was the driver. And then I started going to outdoors, and I still have a bunch of indoor grow rooms. I just don't show them because I use them mainly for breeding, and they're my medical personal. And so
yeah.
But yeah, so those kind of like keep me going and keep they're the real heart behind everything. And then this new hoop house I'm building is actually going to turn into a veg house, which has been so fucking needed in my legal thing, because I don't already have it. So I've just been kind of going old school where I, you know, because I have to run them separate as separate entities. You know, I can only have my recreation inside this fenced area, and then I could have my medical over here. You know, and they're not really interchangeable. You know, they're two separate deals. It's stupid. I can sell myself plants from my recreational to my medical, but not the other way around.
It's like that here a little bit too. Eagle always talks about that. Like, we're allowed. So when medical came through, we were allowed like 2.5 ounces per medical card, right? So we could have, it was like 15 some ounces or something, just shy of a pound or whatever. But you could grow like 70 some plants, but you could only have that much, you know. So it was kind of like, what the fuck right there. And then the recreational came out, and you could grow 12 plants, and you're unlimited on how much you can have as long as it was harvested from those 12 plants. So I mean, if you did them outdoor and got 10 pounds of plant, it'd be totally fine to have 100 pounds. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not fine on the medical side, and it's so stupid to me.
I think Eagle and I he talked about that too. And it's a trip, because they didn't in their head think that you would, you know, we're selling it.
Yeah.
Right. That's not the intent. It was just like, let's have, which it you know, should be like, I think, you know, a lot of states have 6, right? I think California is 6, and goddamn, I mean, I don't think there really should be a limit. You know, I think that the fact that they put a limit, it makes people figure ways to get around it. You know, and they just like made simple avenues for people to sell. Like, if you could just, you know, like a tomato, if you could sell your tomatoes, it's up to you to grow good enough tomatoes and get them in the store and be able to produce them for the right price, and you know, the whole damn thing. And that, I don't know, it would just kind of settle itself out. And if people sold tomatoes to their neighbors, that wouldn't be a big deal, you know.
Very true, man. So just curious now, the warmer weather, I mean, like, what kind of preparations were you taking to kind of get the outdoor plots going and get life going back in them?
And fish poop, a big focus of mine, I always talk about, is fish poop. So I'm ramping up my fish poop production. Meaning my fish, you know, I'm getting more fish, feeding them, trying to focus on feeding them a lot, you know, many times a day, and just really getting the poop moving, so that I can use that. I'll inject it into all my beds. And then typically I've been buying, in the last like 2 or 3 years, I've been buying like, I call it municipal compost, but I buy it from a local compost company, and it's organic certified, actually. and it's fungally dominant, but it's not really that great of stuff at all. In fact, I had used it hot one year and had some issues with it, but it's really cheap, and it's organic material that's clean certified, and so what I do is I use it as a base and a feed for the biology that I harvest out of the fish poop, and I'll buy it in the fall and have it set out in the field, and then and I'll inject it with fish poop, and then in the spring I'll come back and I'll look at it again, and sometimes I'll, like this year I have 2 piles that I'm gonna re-inoculate with a bunch of stuff, and because I have a tractor now, I'll be able to turn it. And so that's the bulk of my nutrients is compost,
Okay.
or fish poop that I deliver via compost tea. So it's compost and compost tea really. And so in the springtime, basically right now, I'm waiting to be able to get into the field with my tractor. And then as soon as I can, it's like I give myself 3 weeks ish to run that process, that composting process or recomposting process. Inoculating.
That's kind of an interesting thing, man. I just want to kind of pick at it a little bit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, traditionally, like when we hear of a municipal compost, a lot of people think, oh, there's good and bad compost. Like that's almost the first thing you realize when you start looking into compost, that, hey, there's bad compost and there's good stuff. And typically that's looked at in the bad realm. And I guess what's kind of the standard looked at as bad from bad?
Well, it's there. Anything can be. There's compost can be bad for many reasons, right? You can fuck things up in so many ways. You and I couldn't cover all those ways, right?
Yeah.
From sourcing material to whatever, but there are like legal standards. Legal is a weird way to say it, but there's standards that I think you have to follow. That you have to go to 140 into one, I think, into 160. Okay. And when you get to those temperatures, you kill everything. I'm starting off poorly, but I'll get there. You kill everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. You kill it all out. It's gone. And so now you literally have this organic material that is kind of almost sterilized. And then from there, what happens to it is usually with a process that fucks it up and makes it into bad compost. And at that state, it's not good compost. It's just the sterilized organic material. And so if a company then goes and lets it sit out in the yard and it gets totally wet and starts to compact, then it can go anaerobic, which means that it's typically going to smell bad, and it could be the type of microbes that we don't want for growing plants in. They can turn around, and we can turn that system around, and we can get the right microbes in there to eat them and outcompete and change the system with the right amount of aeration. I don't know if I'm explaining this really well.
Well, I think where you're getting at is like in a compost, when it goes through that thermal cycle and it heats up. I mean, that's actually biology doing that.
It is biology doing it, and so they're eating and shitting and fucking, and but they get to a point that it gets so damn hot, right? Yeah. And they essentially sterilize the whole thing, and that's needed. But then you want to cool it down and keep it at, according to like Elaine and her philosophy, the soil food web, you want to hit a target temperature. And the same thing with KNF, you want to hit a target temperature. It's just a lower threshold because you're shooting for a more fungal dominant thing. So in KNF, you want to keep your pile turned before it hits 130. In soil food web, it's usually around 140, right? So that's that. Basically, I just take the stuff that is not good, and I let it hang out, and then I add good stuff to it, and then I just follow the simple protocol. Turn when it's 140, and it's that simple. When it starts to cool down, it starts to cool down, and when it gets to the 890 or 80, I'm ready to go.
No, I like the thought of that though. The way you kind of look at it, like. I guess the way I'm hearing it is you almost picture it like a biostimulant for your inoculant, like it's already kind of gone through a composting cycle, and now it's ready for me to hit it with this stuff and kind of take it. So even if it is anaerobic, so if you get it and you're smelling it in the bag, you could almost spread that out
Dry it out.
Yeah, dry it out and kind of inoculate it with your own new biology and bring it into the aeration that way.
Totally. Like, yeah, I kind of think of it that way. And that happens in the natural cycle in the winter, right? Like if you go out and right out into your beds, especially right after the snow, you stick your hand down in there, it's just a mud pit, you're like, you wouldn't want to grow anything in there, but then you come back, as things start to dry out, and the process is going through that in the natural cycle, and it's okay to have anaerobic periods. You just don't want to be growing plants in anaerobic periods,
Yeah, no, and I get that. Leighton often talks about that too, how sometimes the anaerobic environment can stimulate what's needed for the aerobic environment to really thrive. He almost talks about it like it's one of the very bottom, like beginning, starting the system, starting the engine kind of things, And it's interesting that you say that because, like, under the snow and when things are kind of mucky and muddy out there, it is, and what I would assume to be somewhat of an anaerobic situation, everything. And as it dries out in the summer, it shifts there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not, I'm, I'm, I know just enough. And sometimes I get things a little bit wrong, but in how I explain it or understand it, but that process seems to work really well. And, you kind of don't need to know all the details in like specifically which microbes are doing what, as long as it's like making a recipe, you don't need to know all the microbes that are converting the yeast in the dough to make the pizza dough. You just need to know to put enough yeast in and to keep it at that temperature, and then to do this and to fold, you know what I mean?
I know exactly.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm good at making the pizza, but I can't really tell you, I can a little bit, but sometimes I mess it up. And so I kind of like give that as a disclaimer often,
So just roughly for anybody, I mean, that was listening, like where would you begin with trying to build a new compost pile? Like
I'm all about the Elaine Ingham soil food web style. And Leighton taught me, a style that's within that is the static composting. And I really like that technique because I didn't learn about it until just a number of years ago, and I haven't had a tractor. And so that's how I kind of got into this, is because I never could compost to the scale that I needed because I didn't have a tractor. And so I resorted to all these other techniques, the fish poop being one of them, because it's mobile and it's water and I can move it with the pump and all this stuff. And I've seen the benefits through fucking around with aquaponics. But in basic composting, like you can, for most people's gardens most people that are out there that are running anything 8 light, 16 light, 24 light, even a 50 lighter, you could get away with a couple 6 foot circles with hog wire. Have you seen how they do that? It's like 48 inches tall, and
yeah,
you just basically get 50% half green material and half brown material. And if you can be smart about it and ship it up and do things like that, and you just layer it, and it's important to I don't know, how familiar are you with KNF stuff?
I'm pretty familiar with it, but
So one thing that's important, that the steps of KNF are, you harvest microbes and on rice, and then you grow them out, right? So you harvest them on the rice from a good location out in the wild where the nature is taken over, and then you stabilize them in a shelf stable thing. Then you can use them to grow them out onto carbon and carbohydrates. And then the next step, IMO4, you add soil, and you add those microbes in, and you set the plate. And then the next one, IMO5, you're adding manure in. It's the same damn thing with compost, but a lot of people don't know that you have to feed the compost just like you do with the IMO. You don't just start with IMO3, the carbon you feed it with the IMO2, the specific biology. And so in good soil food web composting, you do the same. You find a good starter compost, from someone that has good biology, or good, or you go out into the wild and you wild harvest the biology, and in this, what you can just scoop out, go with a bucket, bring a bucket of wood chips with you, and then take out a bucket of soil and drop in a bucket of wood chips, and
I've seen them sell like a compost. I've seen that on shelves before and marketing stuff, compost starters and whatnot. So that's basically the idea: is you're buying whatever they're selling you there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much of that. I'm pretty skeptical about on a shelf stable product. To be honest, like that's one of the coolest things that Leighton ever taught me or did around me, was he was able to create a shelf stable biology. I don't know how long it was shelf stable for, but he was able to ship it out to me, and it was really, really worked. And but I haven't really found a whole lot of product that is shelf stable biology that is inoculant. Versus stimulant. And we're getting into like splitting hairs and what is a stimulant, what is an inoculant, and what the fuck does it really even matter?
No, I want to split those hairs, honestly, Josh, because that's a great topic right there. Because to be frank, I mean, that's a big conversation around the KNF, right? Like, are we really taking IMO4 and are we really inoculating biology with the IMO4, or is that just a biostimulant for the biology that's already there?
I think it's from my understanding of the whole process, which is as limited as it is that that's where the good stuff's like coming in. You're building a base in IMO2, and your IMO2 is cool, but you're mostly collecting spores, and it's mostly saprophytic spores, which is a good base of a system. But when you bring in the IMO4, you're bringing in this robust living system in IMO3, and you're bringing in the diversity in IMO4. That's like the good stuff, and the diversity in my mind. Otherwise, I mean, Chris would probably disagree with me in this, and this is just kind of how I think about it, and I might be wrong, so I'll just say that about it. I'm pretty sure he would disagree with me. And he advocates for adding IMO3 to soil systems, but there's already soil in there. There's already, so in that case, I think adding IMO3, it's a biostimulant. Adding IMO2 to a soil system, it's a biostimulant. When you add the IMO4 and you have something there, you have a more diverse thing. I think then you're getting into the realm of inoculant.
Yeah,
that's kind of my way of thinking about it.
And just to break that apart for people listening, like the inoculant is like you're bringing in new cultures of biology. It's dramatically shifting the culture of that biology that you're adding it to, and a biostimulant is something that biology,
like a food,
and it stimulates them to grow and to reproduce. So things like humic acids, things like amino acids, things like seaweed, those kind of fall under that biostimulant category. So just to kind of clarify, and then new biology coming in is going to be your inoculant, because you're adding, it's like a forest that you're adding wolves to that were never had wolves before. It's kind of the idea I picture it as, right?
Totally. Yeah, and you can, and that's one thing that I think is really beautiful about KNF is the idea of pulling from. So so everyone can understand, in a true KNF system, I would be looking at a shelf full of IMO2 in front of me that would span 3 to 4 or 5 years, and I would have collections from every season over those 3, 4, 5 years. And so that when I go to make my IMO3, I'm adding all those things to that. I think that's a really beautiful concept. And I just don't, I get stuck on, because I don't understand enough of it. So I have to ask questions to people that do. When I ask Elaine about it, look at this, talk, I'm pushing everybody, because I really just want to know what the fuck is going on. Right. And I don't have enough time to spend under the microscope and do all this stuff and interest. And then I talk to Leighton, talk to Steve, talk to Efren, who's a mycologist, about this. We're sending Efren, slide samples of my IMO3 that's just gnarly awesome stuff. And He's like, you got spores there, bro. That's all you got. And like, yeah, that's all we see too, you know. And so I'm just kind of piecing all this together based upon that.
Yeah.
You know.
I like it though. I mean, it's an interesting conversation because it's nobody knows really, you know what I mean? It's all experience and it's all no, it really depends, you know what I mean? If you're adding it to a system, that's kind of the way I see it. If you're adding it to a system that's all messed up, you know, you could very well be throwing everything right back in balance, you know what I mean? Or if you're adding things that aren't there that should be there, you know what I mean? You're restoring that cycle. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, if you have a cycle that's there, like how, you know, how frequent should be people be looking at re-inoculating? You know what I mean? The idea of an inoculant and like
it depends until it works.
well,
right.
Yeah.
You know, and or maybe then the question could be, are you inoculating with the right stuff? You know, or are you preparing keeping the buffet, the environment proper for them? You know, I felt like in my experience in this greenhouse system, it's bare floor, with, you know, the kind of basically potting soil on top of it, you know, a third compost, a third peat, a third aeration, you know, raised beds on top of regular soil. And I just lost myself what I was trying to say. Sorry. Stoner moment.
Right, I squirreled out on you too. But speaking of your beds, though, did you do like a horizontal setup in those at all, or is that no?
No, that concept is a concept, is, you know, for indoors, you know, because I already have it going on outdoors.
The horizons are outdoors already.
They're outdoors, and so if anything, those horizons might be compacted or fucked up in that manner, and they need biology to go in there and open them up. And that's where I was going with my story was it. So in the system in my greenhouse that I did this, I inoculated and or biostimulated weekly throughout the growing season for 3 years, and then stopped for almost 2 years and only did only water and fulvic acid foliars. And then I kind of like started to see it wasn't smelling as strong. And it was like, it took me kind of a second. I was just like, man, the whole house just kind of doesn't smell, you know, like I go and mow the like patch of grass behind the greenhouse, you know, and I hit that fan, you know, in the summer, and, you know, usually just be like, just loving those terps. And I was just not feeling as strong. And so I realized I hadn't added anything in a while. And so I went back to the drawing board, testing, and added minerals, and started hitting up a couple more compost teas. And the next run, everything was like, you know, right back on par. So yeah, to answer the question, how often do you inoculate? I don't know. It really depends. And there's about 6,000 ways to skin this cat. And you know, after putting on this conference and spending a lot of time with everybody, I really feel that more and more. You know, I really like the way I do things, obviously, and I can preach and talk about that, and I'm happy to. But I'm also kind of in the place right now where I'm kind of annoyed with a lot of folks, because I feel like they're so short-sighted and narrow-sighted in the way that they do things, that they can't like just step up and you know, and look around and like kind of like realize that you're not a superhero. You're just a fucking dude trying to figure it out, like us all, you know. And
right. I'm laughing too, because that's so true. I just to shout out somebody in chat, Cheddar Bob, because, you know, he runs the avocado tech, man, and you know, Blue of Green Tank too. Shout him out. And it's like, they got gorgeous gardens, and people harass them over the fucking avocados, and it's like,
yeah, it's goofy as fuck.
My fucking dozen
avocados
didn't fuck up the whole planet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. And I just, yeah, it's kind comical. It's become a funny thing. Yeah, it's like just come on, man. Everybody does it their own way and shit. It's
Yeah.
so.
And you can use this knowledge of all these things to drive your system in directions, like that's kind of what I was trying to say is I was able to inoculate and I was having good results, so I didn't need to do anything else. And then I started to notice, and I kind of took a quick step and threw some more salt, some more minerals in there, sea salt and rock dust, and hit it with some more compost tea, and it was like, okay, boom.
So how are you doing your compost teas these days? I know you kind of gone through phases on that just from following you along. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm using a 100-gallon brewer, cone tank brewer, and I brew for about 30 hours, and then I apply.
okay.
That's yeah. I don't add anything till the end, so it's just base material and water.
Okay.
Compost or fish poop, but I don't add like molasses. Sometimes I'll add a little, maybe a little bit, 2 or 3 ounces. Um, I've gone crazier with it, but I feel like it just gets to be too much over
Yeah.
time, and I feel better about the idea. It's less of a compost tea, to be honest. It's almost somewhere between a compost tea and a compost extract. And so I can, like, a compost extract isn't very talked about very often, but I think it's a much safer way for people to get at those microorganisms, because in compost tea brewing, there's so many opportunities to fuck it up, and most of the brewers out there are not well designed. They have sharp edges and angles where bacteria get, and in that area, in those areas, that's where you get the anaerobic zones, and then so it can really throw off the whole. It's a tea, it's a soup. It's like if you throw a sour piece of meat in a soup, it does affect the whole soup.
Yeah.
um
Good analogy for that. I like that.
and so like a compost extract is simply like, you could take your material compost, and you could just massage it into the water. That's literally the tech, is put into a bag, micron bag, 220 micron bag, and massage it into the water for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You could throw an air stone in there, and then apply. And so you're not going and giving any opportunity for those gnarly anaerobic zones to happen. And if you add if you add, so if in a traditional compost tea, if you add too much molasses, too much feed, everyone gets going too hot, and it can do the same thing. You can jump over your curve of getting in the sweet zone of where you want to be aerobically. And so it's just a little bit safer than sorry, and I've kind of learned that over time, really slowly, because I'm not a do things slow type person. I'm do and think at the same time often, and so now I'm kind of doing this, like, just I brew it out, and then maybe I'll add 2 or 3 ounces of molasses if I'm really trying to get some action. But more often than not, I'll just add some molasses and maybe some kelp, a cup of kelp at the end.
Yeah, no, I like it. I was just surprised that, yeah, I thought you had kind of moved away from doing the traditional kind of brew styles with the 30 hours stills. That's interesting because, and not adding a food source in there, I find is probably a big role of that being really successful. Because like talking with Leighton, I know you talk with him often too, but that was one thing that threw me at the regenerative conference. I mean, that was one thing that caught my attention right away because I was brewing teas at that time. And yeah, he was talking what they would mix for 1,000 gallons, and it was like 1 tablespoon of molasses went into their
Right.
1,000-gallon brew. And I'm mixing a 10-gallon brew, pouring, you know what I mean, 3 tablespoons
Right.
in there, and I was like, just boom, my brain blew. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it
Well,
changes.
and everything changes so much too, because the temperature that you brew in changes, right? Like, so for me it does anyways, because I brew outside. I don't have a climate controlled building to brew in. So that changes things a lot.
I've heard that too, that it's difficult to kind of maintain with, even day to night temperatures in the spring. Like that can be a big
Yeah.
shift. You're just, you know, not sure what you got at the end of that, or the stuff you do got is the bad stuff, you know, kind of thing.
But end of the day, like just adding air and letting that go forever, that's a good thing. And so that's like my basic low tech. You know, if I get shit, I have a big shit pot, you know, and it's just a cone bottom, you know, brewer, and I literally I dump my fish poop in there, or I got some cool humic acid the other day, and I dumped that in there. I won't pull from that tank for about 2, 3, 4 weeks, because I'll see it cycle and it'll start foaming out. And I'm like, oh boy, shit, bad stuff's going on. But once it calms down and it smells okay and it doesn't smell foul, then I'm like, okay, we're good. And I'll pull some off, and then I put that into the brewer, you know, and I'll add. I put 5 gallons, maybe 10 gallons into a brewer, and then add 90 gallons of water, and
Okay.
then let that go, you know.
Yeah. So how are you collecting the poop then, the fish poop? I thought I seen you with like you had a pond and a little creek going to it.
Yeah, that's I'm on my way to getting towards that with that project. So like my property is like long and narrow, and so I have a pond and like this little kind of scratch out excavator creek that I made, and another little pond. And I want to, this summer I'm going to start making a couple more ponds throughout my property, and eventually it'll be like the water starts at the top and hits a couple ponds and makes its way down through the property. And at each stage of the pond, I can have these fish where I can come in with my pump and just like suck out the poop from the bottom, you know, like a pool, you know, like just suck it up,
All right.
you know, because I'll dig them so they kind of cone down, right?
Yeah.
That's the idea. And so right now I just do basically a traditional aquaponics setup, where I have 4 IBC tanks, you know, those square, you know what I mean when I say those.
Yep.
Yeah. And so I have 4 of those are my fish
Gallon.
tanks. Yeah, they're 250 gallons, and they all flow into one reservoir which has the pump in it. And so all that fish poop is flowing out of those fish tanks into this reservoir, getting pumped up by the pump into a radial flow filter. And it's just a big cone bottom filter. Same thing that I can, you know, the poop flows to the bottom, and the water without the solids comes off the top and goes on back to the fish, you know, and goes through a media thing, and then I can pull that fish poop off of that filter.
That's cool because I know there's
Yeah.
people listening to you that run their own aquarium. So I was just thinking, I mean, somebody with a little tent, you know, they got a one bed or whatever. I mean, if you got a 60 to 100 gallon aquarium and you got some fish in there, and
You should go in and pull out, you know, 30 gallons of it and do a switch over and dump in another, you know, take that 30 gallons and go water your plants, or maybe mix it up to 50, you know, dilute it up to 50, and or whatever, you know, pH it, you know.
well, I was thinking when I had my aquarium, I used to like there was a vacuum, like you were talking, for the bottom, and
Yeah.
that's what would pull all the shit up. You know what I mean? And it was like just a siphon or whatever. But either water that or bubble it, like you say. But I don't know how. Like I have no experience with it, and I know that there's use for it. But you're bubbling yours, so I would imagine if somebody was going to do something like that, harvest in their own aquarium, they would probably want to do the same and just bubble it hardcore for a day or two or whatever. And
Yeah. So like, you know, that the cool thing about it is, so like if I'm just thinking about it, so if I'm just vacuuming out my aquarium, how much poop am I going to actually get? Not that much. So then you need to store it, and that's the cool thing about having the filters, because it's cone bottom, so literally the whole bottom of it is just concentrated poop. And so when I open up that valve, I'm getting just the poop, and I can close it off and stop the water. And so then I take, you know, mostly poop water, and I dump it into another brewer, and then that has to take 2, 3, sometimes 4 weeks to we call it aerobically stabilize, or in the aquaponics world they say remineralize. And it's then when you know when it's done, when it stops smelling, because it comes out of there and it stinks. It's really anaerobic because it's been sitting in the bottom of this cone with no oxygen, right? And so now I'm dumping it into just a constantly bubbling, and it just takes a while. And then after, once it smells kind of like neutral, then you're like, okay, now we're ready. So at a home level, you could do that. You just have to like narrow all that down, you know?
No, and no doubt, I like it, and it's kind of probably somebody's going to hear this, and hopefully they do get an idea of how.
Yeah, and you can make a cone bottom out of those. I used to do this with those 5 gallon water, those upside down water station things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. God, I forget the name for them too. There's a name for them.
Carboys or you get a carboy. You could do it with a carboy. The beer, yeah. I don't know why I didn't think of that right away. I'm like, there's like 6 behind me.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And I just to kind of go on to another topic, like, so you're laying your compost down, and we've covered that, but are you doing anything as far as cover cropping, or is your plan along the lines of like mulching? If you do have either in the beds or outdoor, like you still have some.
Yeah, and outdoors I go a little bit different because I have more room, so I'll just be more liberal and throw as much in there. I definitely cover everything with straw. Is the number one. I get straw from right across the street. It's just this barren field, and this guy, my neighbor, cuts it every year, and I buy it from him, and so it's pretty sweet deal. It's just been there forever. So that's a pretty awesome deal, and I get it in the fall and let it sit out all winter and get wet, and then I apply it in the spring. I apply it in the fall and the spring. So I bed everything down in the fall. And put everything to bed, and then usually have to patch it up because the dogs or ducks or whatever's gotten in there and made messes. So I'll patch it up. But I have a lot of stuff growing in there. I have like calendula and poppies and a lot of stuff that you kind of can't see honestly in the pictures. But more and more, I'm trying to cultivate those. Like last year, I did a ton of calendula. I have like, I don't know, probably a turkey bag and a half of calendula seeds.
Oh wow!
Yeah. I went crazy. I was just like, I gotta get them, and I'm gonna like try to grow some more, just like keep that going.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And
I really like that. And
calendula, is that a flower then? Is that?
Yeah, so it looks like it's yellow or orange, and it's what's its cousin that people always want to plant, the I'm blanking on the name of it. I can look in the chat. Someone's going to be screaming. Marigolds. Okay. It's in the same family. Marigold is a calendula, but marigolds aren't typically preferred because they carry thrips and stuff like that, and kind of could be a pest vector. But calendula is brings in all the beneficials and is really good. And you can also make it into a lot of balms and salves, and has a lot of healing properties. It smells good, so I really like it. Yeah, and I just kind of dug into it last year, and so. But I have some tobacco going outside in little spots. I'll just kind of intermix it with different things. Sunflower seeds I'll have out there. A lot of I got borage, and I do a lot of sweet alyssum and creeping thyme. I throw that all over the place. Lavender.
Now, is there any companion planting you're doing as far as like there's been a lot of buzz or discussion around like the whole theory of like strawberry cough, right? Like it grew up in strawberry fields, now it tastes like strawberry.
Right.
And I've heard people talk chamomile is one I've heard mentioned.
I have some chamomile in the mix too. I heard the sunroots guy, I think, talk about that on a video I saw maybe a while ago, if that was right. But I've heard the chamomile thing too. And well, what's your question exactly? I'm
just curious if that's anything you're kind of looking at with planting companions like that, or are you just trying to grab pollinators and whatever?
I guess all my thoughts revolve around diversity. I like to throw everything that I can at everything, poop wise, biology wise. Like I like to get stuff from all over, mineral wise. I don't like to just get, like I like to get rock dust. If I'll get 5. Why the fuck not? Instead of just buying, 5 pounds, I'll buy 1 pounds type thing. And that's just kind of how my brain, mainly from listening to Elaine's talks years ago when I was learning how to garden. It was just all about diversity and biology, and it just like really just made the most sense, because then whatever was going on, flood, or famine, like it's there's biology there to meet the bill. So that's kind of I do with the companion plants. But I haven't done anything specifically to like, let's grow this cultivar right here, buy this and see if it increases it. That being said, I'm dorky enough that I did plant a grapefruit and 2 lime trees in my greenhouse, and I've got a fucking ton of lime varieties. I'm going to like plant them right by it.
Hell yeah.
So
I would imagine though, man, like I mean Eagles talked about this too. Like when you harvest the plant and like, I'll cut out the root ball, but I'll still you smell terpenes, you know what I'm saying? Like and he's changing out pots or whatever, but like you smell that root ball and it's like, there's gotta be something going on there where it's translating somewhat, like even trying
yeah,
to like, retransplant the same cultivar right in the same hole that you pulled the root ball out of, and
there's this guy I met this year, this spring. His name is Nick. He has a company called Rooted Leaf, and they make nutrients. They make basically KNF nutrients here in Anacortes, Washington. It's just all fermented essentially, different stuff. He's like told me that, and he came over and gave me some stuff one day, and then he just kept coming over and like offering to bring me stuff, and he's just next level out there in understanding the chemistry of fermentation and sourcing, and I like I am so blown away, and I have so much respect for this guy right now. He sources his materials from all over the world. He gets teas and berries, and um, I couldn't even do justice to the myriad of things that he uses to make. He every time he brings something over, I open up and just you want to drink it. Like, whoa, there's rosemary, and you were like always guessing and having a fun time with it. But they have all these leftover materials after their ferments, and so he offered that we could have them if we wanted to go drive down there and get them. So we've been going down there and getting them. And my buddy Sunnyland Grown's working with me, and so he actually went down today and got a bunch of stuff, and we're mixing in with wood chips and composting it, and it's very aromatic. I mean, it just smells like
so what would be the fear of trying to go right on your bed with that, Josh? Just to kind of
it would go anaerobic.
Okay.
Yeah, because
it's alcohol in there. Is that what you're talking, or?
Yeah, there could be a little bit of alcohol in there. I mean, I'm not smelling that. You'd no. Smell it. When it comes to me, it's not anaerobic. It's in a really awesome state, and but as it just sits there, it will, because it's mostly green material, and so I want to mix it. I want to just basically take it and took it straight into the composting process. I had wood chips that were dropped, and so I'm just mixing it in and watching that thermometer, and if it hasn't hit 140 yet, I was hovering at 120, but it's just kind of slowly cranking, and I had inoculated with a bunch of fish poop 2 days ago, and
I bet that's gonna be golden, man.
That's
killer. That'll be sweet. I like.
But another thing that he really targets in his nutrients, that's what he's targeting and he's testing for, and he's next level on that. And so he is like committed to doing some tests with us, to being like, all right, you want to crank up the lime in this one, let's do it. And you want to crank up this in this one, let's do that. And so that's gonna be some fun stuff to play with.
Well, and that's kind of feeding into the debate or conversation or idea of it. I have heard from KNF guys, using different fermented fruit juices, you can kind of steer flavors a little bit or bring things out, in certain cultivars or whatever. So there's some interesting stuff. Obviously, nobody's mapped anything out, but it's kind of like, a just interesting idea to think about, I guess.
Totally.
Kind of cool. Um, Earlier I had heard you mention that you foliar with full fulvic acid, and I know I've heard you talk about this before. This is actually a practice I do, partly because I've heard you talk about it and Dr. Faust. But how frequent are you going about foliar spraying with the fulvic acid? And do you still use full power? I don't know if that's the one you use.
I just got back to full power last week, and I love it. I love full power. So yeah, I was using it pressed out of compost for a while, and to have that I was having some really awesome success, and some like I don't know if that actually did good, and at first I was questioning my mixing, was I being sloppy, or and so like, okay, dial it in, Rutherford, and no, you're anyways. So I finally decided that it was the fulvic acid itself that was the issue, and so I hooked up. Coincidentally, I got someone contacted me. This company, Full Ionic, or I always mess up their name. God damn, I feel so bad. It's full Ionic or something like that, and I'm gonna have to find the bottle here and show you guys. I'm all out of it, but they do electrolyzed water in their fulvic acid, and they gave me I think 5 gallons of it or something like that last summer, and I ran it all summer, and I was having a really good success with it. And then they had one that they were adding a nutrient to, and so I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try something, and I added C90 to the fulvic acid, and I did that, and it was like blast off, dude. And I told the lady about it, and what I did, and I was like, "Is that what you guys do?" And she just kind of like smirked, and I was like, "All right, I got you." She's like, wasn't going to confirm or deny, but I that's a little trick for once every month or two.
Ratio are you talking with the
C90? I don't remember. It tells you right on the bag.
It's like
foliar
per gallon or something.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's measured in pounds the way I apply it.
Okay.
So it's like half a pound or something like that, if I remember.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on it.
But no,
I don't use it enough to remember.
How heavy do you mix the fulvic acid then? Is that
so I mixed the fulvic acid, so that I kind of went off base, but I mixed fulvic acid at 1%. Okay. However, Faust stuff is not at 1%. I don't believe. I haven't done the conversion. Is it?
It's like 3 milliliters per gallon or something.
Is it 3 or 30? Is it 30?
3.
3.
Yeah.
That's not 1%. 30 would be 1%. Anyways, I've only used it a couple, like a week, and so I just was reading the back of the thing and mixing it. But I apply, I typically just apply any fulvic acid at 1%, and I shoot it as much as I fucking can, dude. I'll shoot it every day. I'll shoot it twice a day. I mean, as long as you aren't over mixing, you really can't go wrong.
Now, what benefit are you looking for from the fulvic? I mean, like,
I see it. I put it in with my compost tea too, if I can. I see it as a chelator of nutrients, and so it's a full nutrient in itself, is the way it's been explained to me. And so when I hit it with foliarly, I'm giving the plant a full load of nutrients. And essentially, this is all how people explain it to me. It's helping the plant uptake the nutrients from the soil better. So where I'm missing where I might be missing something in the soil, it's hitting in the gaps. And what I see visibly in the plant, when I'm cueing in on visibly is leaf texture. and play all the things we see, you know. And I want to see the plants praying all the time, you know, not when they're going to sleep, but I want during the middle of the day, I want them praying, you know, and looking good. And when I walk up to those leaves, I want to see them, you know, the leaves being, and I want to see when I touch them, I want to feel like it feels very leathery and not brittle and soft, you know. And yeah.
No, I was always kind of wondering because I've typically used it like a few times a week, but I've always been kind of shied away from trying to go too heavy with it. And it's been an interesting topic because I mean, there's been a couple other discussions where they're, adding humates pretty regularly, or they're foliar spraying, you know, like you say, as often as you want. So I've really kind of stepped that up myself and just seeing what you're talking.
And that's my experience on my garden, you know. And but that translates across all my garden spaces, my indoors. I mean, everything I do is very similar. I don't grow in pots. Generally, I mean, I have pots, I use them in the process, but it's as fast as I can get into beds, I'm in beds. That's just easier for me.
It's probably a huge advantage too, getting, I mean, it's a cool thing. So throughout the season now, how are you going about approaching you know, like when we're indoors, or a lot of people outdoors even too, think top dress, top dress, top dress. And I know you said you lay down the compost. Is there a plan that you really kind of make out for trying to, you know, feed the soil what it's going to need to support the plant throughout the season? Like, are you doing testing on those and trying to add a certain balance of minerals, or?
No, I'm so sloppy, honestly, at this point. I used to, honestly, when I started the conference, so what was it, before 5 years ago, maybe before that, I was pretty strict on what I would do. I had a soil recipe, and I would take all the nutrients from that soil recipe and I would mix. There was about 16 of them, you know. It was all the typical stuff, you know, all the feather meals, you know, everything. I would just get as much of it as I could, diversity, you know. So if there's rock dust, I get 5, you know, and I would just, you know, so it ended up being more stuff. But and then, so anyways, I take that and I mix them all together, and I call that my new pack. And I'd always have a 5-gallon bucket of that, and after every harvest, I would, you know, just lop off my plants and, you know, sprinkle that over the top and scratch it with my fingers, and, you know, get the mulch back on and water it in, and away we'd go. But I ran into problems over time. I didn't know about soil testing, and I didn't know a lot of things. And I basically overloaded my system with nutrients. And even when I built my farm here, I did the same thing. With that top layer of soil, I think I overloaded it with nutrients. And that's why I was able to grow almost 3 or 4 years without adding really any more nutrients. I was adding compost tea, could be inoculant or stimulant. We had that conversation, you know, so somewhere in there, it could have been one or the other, depending on what was going on. But I think that I ended up just having too much. And so when I build a new garden now, I don't had hardly as much. I have 2 or 3 amendments that I'll add at a time. Usually crab meal. I'm really interested in crab meal. I'm really interested in seaweed, specifically maxi crop, which is very expensive, but worth its weight in gold, in my opinion.
Now you get seaweed from them? Is that what you're getting?
Maxi crop?
Yeah, because I get the maxi crop powdered seaweed, which is like almost black.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that stuff. It's very expensive, man, to buy a big bag of it. But it's fucking jam.
I like,
you know.
That is cool. And they're one of the originals. That's the thing I always liked about maxi crop, was like the dude that started that's the guy that studied the seaweed. Like
it's specifically the Norwegian cold pressed kelp. Yes, and there's some other companies that do it, but I don't know them, to be honest. I mean, there's seaweed out there and there's kelp meal out there, but not the Norwegian cold pressed kelp like that. And that's specifically what the studies were on, you know. So I just know that there's something special about it, and I see it. And so long story I was trying to say is I add a lot less intentionally, and I'm seeing better results, and I'm relying more on compost teas, you know, and like in my different gardens around, you know, my greenhouse is an amoeba almost of itself. And I kind of need to like kind of give it a little teaspoon here or there. But in the other places, I have to like, you know, kind of give them some more fulvic acid. But, you know, throughout the grows, I don't really do much other than water and hit them with a compost tea here and there, you know.
Now, are you applying that maxi crop as a what root drench, or are you foliar?
No, is a top like scratch in, you know.
Oh, really?
Like
Okay.
with the crab meal. Yeah. I'll mix it all together with crab meal, and, you know, sometimes I'll have some alfalfa meal or some rock dust or feather meal I like to use, you know. So I'll do 2 or 3 of those kind of combination of those things. The feather meals I like because it's a good long-term slow release nitrogen, you know.
Doesn't cause any crazy reaction for them like that.
Yeah. But I don't really do a ton of testing as much as I should, to be honest. I'm going to start trying to fuck with some sap analysis, and getting into like micronutrient sprays is what I'm interested in delving into. I don't know if you could listen to the Advancing Eco Ag podcast at all. Yeah, I'm really interested in what they're doing. Unfortunately, they don't want to work with cannabis people.
Oh,
I was really bummed out. I have a hemp license too, so I contacted him. I was like, you know, I got hemp. I want to work with you guys on my hemp, and they're like, nope. And then they started a second company called Ozadia, and you know, I'm not I'm not into it, you know, and I'm not into talking shit about this thing, but I don't like it, man. You look at the page, you can make your decision yourself, but it's a nutrient feed chart, and it's not what they talk about at Ozadia. You know, it's like there's 5 bottles and it's a nutrient feed chart, like just like any other cannabis Yahoo bullshit. And I'm just like, I want nothing to do with that, you know. And the I looked at their videos online, and they had some, you know, I didn't like the environmental control parameters they were suggesting, and so I was bummed out about that. But they essentially won't work with me because cannabis or hemp, and so they have this other company, and so but I'm on the mission because I really think that the John is on some cutting edge shit right there for sure, dude. And I think of anyone I've been listening to in the realm of regenerative, he is on some cutting edge fucking shit, and he should be listened to, but he won't listen to us and talk with us. I've tried to get, I spent time on the, you know, talking to different people, trying to get him to come to conferences, and he's just not
no.
Or I mean, they started this company, but I don't think they don't understand, you know.
Well, I want to
someone needs to get with him and explain to him like how we are and where we are with the level we are at, you know, because I think he would be so intrigued intellectually, I think, with
because it's so similar to hops. They work with hops. I've listened to podcasts where he talks about that, and that's kind of what I rely on. Is this FYI for anybody listening? Is like he does a couple of them on hops where they actually improve yields. They improve flowering time, different things, you know, terpene expression, because that's important in hops too, you know. And it was to me that fell right along the same line. But just to kind of break that apart, what you were saying though, the 5 nutrients, the difference of what you're talking about is doing a tissue test, you're trying to apply just the nutrients that it's missing. So if there's a little bit of iron needed or a little bit of, you know, potassium needed, you're going to add those that you see on the test and apply it as a foliar to just bring things in balance. And the whole idea is bring what's out of balance, let's get the system back in balance, versus adding A and B plus this booster and that, you know what I mean? It's a whole different idea behind that.
No, thanks for saying it in a more clear way. And that's, I've relied on the fulvic acid to do that. And I think that we can do better, like based upon what I'm hearing from John, is we can hit those levels, and the whole goal is to just keep the race car charging, terpene cranking, cannabinoids squeezing, machine, and yeah. He has a couple of talks about the nutrient. He calls it the nutrient pyramid, I think, or nitrogen, huh?
Plant health pyramid.
Plant health pyramid, and then he talks about the nitrogen cycle, and I just did this, man. I've had some aphids in there, just kind of hanging out since last fall. They crept in there when I closed the doors, and so I've just been spraying like, the hypochlorous acid water on them, and just kind of squeezing by, and it's been really frustrating. And I put down some FAA as a soil drench, which is unlike me. Like basically, like after this whole conversation, right? I just told you I don't put that much down. I just did this like a month ago, and I looked at the bottle, and it was from my buddy Nick, and it's really good stuff. And it's made from salmon, dude. It's this really cool FAA made from salmon here locally, and smelled really delicious. I almost drank, tasted it, and aphids took off, man. Aphids took off like overnight, and I was like, "Holy shit, I did it!" I wanted, I did exactly what you're not supposed to do, you dumbass. And so that's when I got motivated to call AEA, and they wouldn't work with me because I was just like, God damn it. So then I just bought like all the shit. It was like just online. I bought all the shit, and I just like, I'm gonna go after this myself. And I'm pretty sure that he was, from what I remember him saying, was like molybdenum or something like that. I'll have to go back and listen. Is one of the things that you can help balance out. I can't even explain it properly.
I was gonna say I don't want it to be an ad for him, but I heard the same podcast, and it was he was talking about there's excess amount of nitrates that were built up. So like your dose there, the plant took up the form and then converted it into nitrate, and that's what the aphids are actually after in the plant sap, is that nitrogen, that free available nitrogen. And
right.
What he's talking about in that plant health pyramid is trying to get a plant that'll take that nitrogen up and instantly convert it into a protein, which is no longer available for them. And the sprays he mentioned were Photomag, their C-Stim, and the Rejuvenate. That was free as a foliar, yep, or whatever. But yeah, and the whole idea there is you were trying to balance out the excess of that nitrate. So you're looking at supplying the plant with the other minerals it needs to process that into a protein. And that's kind of what he was hitting them at with. So there was that was kind of the basis of it, I guess, or whatever. So
cool.
That's the
yeah,
thought
thanks
line behind it. Did it work for you though? That's what
I haven't done it. I just ordered the stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see. I ordered Rejuvenate. I ordered like, I don't know, 6 or 7 of the micro nutrients, and I ordered a bunch of stuff.
Hell yeah, man.
We'll it's so cheap. Like and this is the difference. That's why I got so frustrated, because I just like, I've listened to the podcast. I feel like the dude's he's so right on. Like, I can't believe that he's, just like, God damn it, don't throw us a mixed bottle thing that costs a bunch of money, when I'm looking at Rejuvenate for 5 acres for a season is like $50. And I'm just like, bro, like we're down for that shit, like you will sell out, like literally sell out if you like let us in.
I think there's quite a few people actually that do, like you did, and like I did too. I just went to their website and checked it out and ordered a few things, because I mean, the way, that's exactly how I looked at it, Josh, too, is like, well, fuck it. It's, I'm going to get 5 different things from them, and I'm using them as a foliar spray. So that's what I was kind of interested in, is could I try to balance out nutrition in the plants and actually get rid of some of the thrip pressure that I was seeing, or some of the, I'm in a field in a kind of a barn area, so I get a lot of bug pressure. So if I'm lax on my IPM, it falls apart. But the whole idea that I can, work on plant health and bring things up versus trying to go in there and spray for war every 2 times a week or whatever is ideal to me.
How's your mulch game?
My mulch game lacks a lot, and that's actually an interesting thing you asked because that's something I want to try working on a little better too.
That's why you have thrips, in my opinion.
Interesting. All right.
100%. I think most problems are mulch problems.
Mulch, like I don't have enough, or I should
yeah,
have a thicker layer there.
Yeah,
How thick
and
layer do you recommend?
that's what Leighton's whole concept in doing the layers for the indoor potting soil, and doing these layers. The idea is that you're trying to get soil moisture consistency. Same thing when you're making compost or making IMO. You're looking for target moisture, target oxygen level. Making compost tea, this is all right, bread, all this stuff. And so when you have the mulch on there, you're keeping that soil moisture, and you're also having the transition layer. And in that transition layer is where the nematodes live. And the nematodes eat your thrips. And they eat all the stuff. And it makes all the nutrients work. Literally, like, my aphids right now are because I don't have mulch. Okay. Straight up. And like I need to fix my blue mats because they got tore up by some mice. And then I need to get some nematodes down and get a mulch layer down. And then I want to hit up some of these sprays, but like I have seen over and over again, and I like am the firmest believer, like that would be the number one be all end all advice for living soil gardeners, would be over anything else. Just like,
is there a too thick of a mulch is what I'm wondering.
Yeah, I mean, sure, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you got to get the water down to the plants. Yeah, but manageable. I mean, if it's a foot, it's going to be hard to get the water down into the soil, right? So you got to consider that, right? 4 inches, 5 inches, is fucking great. Like you want that soil, and you can kind of push it down in there and a little bit. And I like wood chips, a lot. Like aged wood chips are really, really epic for mulch, or rocks are even epic for mulch. You could use pebbles or clay hydrotin or
rice hulls too.
Rice hull, anything. Like it's a soil moisture layer thing,
That's an interesting thought though, because I've always kind of looked at it like it is a little bit of a pain in the butt. And I run some of the Blue Mott drippers. I got number 15 pots, so it's like, I'm going around to each one dripper in each pot.
Right, and it's hard in pots. It's really hard in pots. Yeah, but it's what made the difference for me.
I'm gonna definitely try that. I actually have a round that I added a little bit heavier of a mulch too than I'm normally done. So we'll see. I'll have to follow back on that. Like,
yeah. So if for the thrips, this is what I would do. I would get a good mulch down, apply nematodes, and then do a spray of whatever Bacillus subtilis or whatever is gonna, whatever you need to do to hit the flyers. You got to get the flyers. The mulch and the nematodes will get the soil ones, but you got to knock down the flyers too, because otherwise they can find places. So you got to do a double whammy, but then they'll be gone. What kind of? And they'll never come back.
Do you know offhand what nematode, or I'm sure I can look it up too?
Just buy the triple pack.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. It's commonly sold the triple pack, or I don't know what
Yeah, I've tried them a couple times, but I always feel like I fucked that up, man. The nematodes, they're just
right.
Tricky, dude. I don't know.
My buddy, Sunnyland Grown. I wonder if it's right here. I'll show you.
Shout out, Chad.
This is a really good tech that he showed me. This is actually a bottle of them right here. He has like a little, can you see that?
Yeah.
Just a little bottle with one of these. And so when he walks around to his plants, he, puts the nematodes in here. It's not nematode, it's nematode. I say it wrong too. And then the whole thing is that you need to keep them, they're so heavy. You set the bottle down, and they start falling to the bottom of the solution. Yeah. And so then you go to spray it off, and you're just spraying off water. You're not spraying off any nematodes. Gotcha. So they actually, in professional setting, they make a nematode bucket. It's an agitation bucket that keeps them moving. So when you suck it out of there, that you're getting even supply of nematodes in your water supply. And you can't be over pressure. They're very sensitive. You can't use high pressure. So he has small little garden, not small, he has a bunch of small little gardens, and he's used pots. And so I was asking him, and this was like a brilliant, simple idea that for the price you could go, because once they'll grow, there's tons of food for them. So they're going to grow and eat and fuck. So you just got to get the mulch down so they have habitat. And you already have food because you have thrips. So just get them, go around, hit your pots.
I like that. So that's like one of those boxer jugs or something where you can just squirt it, right? I see the
straw. Yeah, you can squirt it right out. Exactly. Yeah.
That's dope. I like that idea, because then, like you say, it's because you don't need a big volume of water, right? You're just trying to mix it and spread it out as evenly. You can't really see the dang things anyway, so it's like
I'll shout him out. There's a pack of seeds from him right here. You guys should go check them out. Pretty good plants, Sunnyland grown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. Dope idea. I like that, Rob. I'm probably going to get that, because I've heard a lot of discussion about nematodes too lately, even as far as the whole nutrient cycling capability there, and increasing, like in a lot of our systems, we tend to be like highly bacterial, and the protozoa and amoeba and the larger things that are consuming that bacteria are kind of what complete that cycle, the life cycle. So adding some of the nematodes in, whether you're doing that through a compost or even buying them and putting them in, it's kind of like, people think of it like IPM, like you talked about it. Hey, we're attacking the thrips, but it's actually nutrient cycling too, so they should proliferate in there too, I would imagine, and do more too. I mean, there's different nematodes too, I guess.
Yeah, there's a whole slew of them. We actually called Elaine on this, so there's obviously some imbalance in my system right now, and I had pulled the mulch off because I had roly-polies, woodlouse got out of control, and I had planted the whole greenhouse full of seeds, like hand planted seeds in there. And I'm like really confident in seed planting. I like have done a bunch of microgreen planting. Like I grow a ton of seeds, and I'm really good at, I'm just really confident in it. I'm good at it. And so I direct planted them in, just like I would with tomato seeds, and not a one of them came up. No. Or the few that came up were gone the next day with these things. And I did it twice, dude. I did it twice, like a Dumbo. Plant first, think later.
Oh. And then, because I know, like, you plant, you don't just plant a dozen of them.
No, it was a couple thousand twice.
Oh man.
Yeah, and then so I just got so angry and ripped the whole thing off, and then when I was gone over the winter, mice got into my blue mats and ate on my blue soaks. So those got decommissioned for a season. And so those are, yeah. So basically I've been trying to just keep pulling more like stuff out of there. Cause like I have like living walkways too, with just like stuff. And so I lift up that, and there's woodlouse there. And so I've just been trying to get rid of those. And so this winter we put in insulation in the aisles, and then PEX, and then gravel. So we have heated aisles, but also get rid of the ability for woodlouse to eat anything, because it's just going to be gravel.
Is that kind of out of there for the most part, or is it?
we're working our way out of it, and so I'm in the finals. Finals. Now I'm ready. And so we called Elaine on it. I'm getting to the point of the story. We called Elaine about it and had a Zoom with her, and she was like, "Dude, this is all basic. You know all this stuff. Make good compost. Apply good compost. Compost has a diverse soil food web full of nematodes. The right nematodes eat the wood. They don't eat the wood louse, but they infect them, and they slowly kill the population. I'm not exactly sure the mechanism, but and so we asked, can we buy nematodes and apply them? She's like, kind of, sort of. It almost led me to the idea that they were almost these nematodes were a biostimulant to the nematodes we wanted, or maybe I'm messing that up.
Right.
However, the path is fix the blue mats, put the mulch down, apply the nematodes and good compost tea, and
get everything back in balance.
Get everything back in order, back in balance. I'm going to apply the Rejuvenate as an inoculant to make sure it's nice and balanced.
Just a FYI, real quick on that Rejuvenate. The one thing I didn't like about that is it does carry some magnesium in it. So just a thought on that. So I don't know. It's kind of like potassium, magnesium, and sugar. It's like a carbohydrate kind of thing.
Right.
It's there inoculant. I don't know why the magnesium's in there. There must have been a reason, but it is there. So just a thought. Sometimes that's the one that I've recently found is really easy to get out of balance, especially on multiple cycles. That's the one that
you talk like with getting hollow stems. Is that what you mean?
Oh, just then in general, just like magnesium applying, it's like talked about so often, but it's like to me in the living soil world, like that's the one that gets in abundance more and shifts to throwing off the potassium, and that's something I've recently been learning. Other people have talked about it podcasts too. And but yeah, it was just a thought there, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to check it out.
Do you think that plays a role in hollow stem, or
is it magnesium, or it's one of them? I think it's magnesium.
Yeah.
No, maybe it's boron. Sorry, sometimes I get confused.
No, I know. I don't mean to get all technical. It's funny. It's just, yeah, it was just recently I noticed that, and it was on my mind. So it was something like in using the Rejuvenate, I kind of noticed. I was like, oh, so I've kind of set that one back to the side a little bit for now and trying different stuff just to see. But I did
get torn up in chat.
That's what kind of led me to that too. So, but yeah, man, we kind of covered a lot of my questions. I don't know if there was something that, cause I know you're an early riser too. I mean, we've already gotten a couple hours deep in on this too. So.
Yeah, no, I'm good for whatever, man.
Everybody's teasing my nematodes, or potato. It's definitely kombucha though.
It's definitely kombucha though.
That's funny. Everybody's kind of different accents. I like it, man. All these shows are cool, man. The community's expanded so much. Like, I mean, we got guys in chat from all around the world, and there's guys in the UK doing podcasts and hangouts and different things. So it's awesome. Like, all the different camaraderie, and people can have different accents, and we can say words differently and whatever, but we all communicate. You know what I mean? And it's all around this plant. You know what I mean? It brings people together. That's just the overall cool thing about it. Like, no matter if you're growing this way or that way, or if you're using avocados or not, it's everybody kind of comes together. You know what I mean? It should be that way anyway. So I
yeah, man, and the goal is like, yeah, I mean, I'll just want to get high, and not just get high. I never really say that, but like we want to smoke some good weed, and like taste it, and that's the drive behind it, really. And
no, I feel where you're coming from, man, because that's like been my whole drive too. Like ever since I started smoking as a kid, it's like, you get the shit brickweed or whatever from your buddy, and you overpaid for it and picked all the seeds out. And it was like the minute I picked seeds out, I was like, you can fucking grow this. There's seeds, you know what I mean? And it just instantly boomed from there. And it's been kind of this long pursuit of like you hear, somebody talk about, oh my, strawberry cough back in the day, way in the 90s was kind of like, oh my God, there's fucking strawberry flavored weed. Like I got
Right.
this brown shit that I'm getting in a fucking compressed brick. Like, and it was just always this carrot to chase, like I wanted to have different flavored weeds. Like I want to be able to fucking open a jar and have 3 different ones that you can be like distinctly know what those are, and you just have to smoke it. You don't even have to know. It's good. Yeah, that's this one, like,
I smoked brickweed once in my life. Like I grew up in the West Coast, and like I mean I didn't start smoking until I was probably like, I think the first time I was like 19, like not young, like most folks, but still like I think it was OG Kush, like like the second time I remember it was grapefruit. It was like grapefruit. Like I remember the dude opened the jar. It was like, whoa, dude, that's weed. Like that whole car smells like grapefruits, man. Like, yeah, we're gonna, and like it tastes like grapefruit, man. This is shit. Wow.
You didn't miss much without the brickweed, though, dude. Diesel and the brickweed was because it fucking smelled like diesel because they hid it in the fucking diesel tanks to ship it over here. It spent hours saturated in a diesel
Right.
tank. Their fucking diesel right there. It makes me cringe all this shit we probably put down, dude, just from the whole idea of how they went about things. It's like they probably sprayed like a motherfucker. They probably just whatever.
Well, it's so cool where what's like there's so much communication and learning, and I can't keep up with it, man. I'm like, in some ways I just kind of start checking out when stuff gets like too fast for me, because I'm like I'm just gardening too, and so like like my garden is huge and it takes a ton of work and time, and sometimes I look up and I'm like, fuck, man, 4 months have been gone by and I'm just like barely even listening. People are talking about all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, damn, dude, like our learning is so rapid. There's all these avenues, and it's really cool, man. And my one of the main goals, like I always say, of putting this conference together was to like really mesh the heads, and I want to keep doing that more. But in a I don't know. I want some resolve.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what that. I don't even know what that means. But like, I wish that we could put some grand testing together or something, and really have all the, like a lot of people, all together to look at a test and do a big field full of testing, and like, all right, look, here's what we learned. Y'all grew some pretty damn good plants, in these different ways. I don't, and this, maybe we'd learn this way you can bust up the THC this way, and this one you can do that with, or, all these things we talk about. And
well, that's what's cool. I think it moves like the whole I guess the idea of like the consciousness of the community, what I'm saying? Like everybody's learning new stuff, and doing podcasts like this, or other ones where people actually, with experience and take the time to share that with other people, and it moves it forward because somebody's hearing an idea. Somebody heard an idea from something you said tonight, and it's going to spawn a whole new direction. And then a year from now, they can come back and be like, you know what, dude, I heard this idea, and I've been doing this for a year, and this is what I got, and this is what I seen from it. And it advances it, though,
Yeah, and I think that's why it's important that we are honest. I kind of was saying that kind of stuff earlier, like in like this. I'm kind of like, well, this is my experience, right now in my scene, because there could be all these things that I don't understand that are happening. I only understand so much, and even in this podcast, you've done a better job of explaining the things that I've been trying to explain, because my knowledge is a little bit limited. You know what I'm saying? And so I just think, yeah, I think I made my point.
Yeah, it's a cool deal, man. The whole community thing and moving it forward.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I'll drive it more, but like I feel like there's a lot of like there's a lot of people that do stuff and don't talk about the failures, as much. And the failures are where the learning's at, and like it hurts a little bit, but like I feel like I still can produce really fucking good flour, like better flour than almost anyone in my state on a commercial level, and still have failures or mess ups, along the way, and be learning these things. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand that, but like that's also where the learning is as a community, because then someone else might, like you're saying, like I might need to check out this magnesium thing. That wasn't in my head, dude. So now I'm gonna have to like, you know take a second and check it out, right? And so that's cool, right?
Yeah. No, and that's why, yeah, I was like trying to. It wasn't exactly a failure for me, but it definitely was. I mean, for me personally, it was something I noticed in the plants once I went under like LED. It kind of really drove the imbalance as far as visual with the plants. So it was kind of that's what drove me to get some testing done. But it was
Are
eye
you
opening. You know what I'm saying? It was really eye opening to me, and to hear that was a really common thing that he sees. And I'm talking about soil doctor Bryant Mason or whatever. So like, yeah, I sent in a couple samples and had him, and he said that's something he commonly sees. That whatever, for whatever reason, that kind of goes up. So,
is that an LED specific thing? I heard you say LED.
no, I just think that the LED kind of flushed it out as being a noticeable problem. I think it was always there. It just, yeah, whatever about the LEDs drives the plants a little harder, and I think it kind of made it show its hand, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
I just recently, like, I bought all these LEDs with my greenhouse, and I didn't like them the day I got them. They weren't. I got sold the shitty model, and we walked out there with the light meter, and they're just like not enough. Like, great, you just bought $120,000 not enough light.
Yeah.
And I got a stimmy pack on it, from so I ended up only having to pay like 20 or whatever. But I decided to another local grower was over, and they were like, you don't like those lights? I'm like, fuck no, give me some HPS. He's like, dude, I'll trade you 2 to 1. And I was like, done, deal. Like, because they also provide heat in the winter, which is the only time I need the lights in the greenhouse. So
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like after I did all this, I'm coming full circle. And so now I actually have switched out most of my greenhouse. I have like, I have maybe 4 more HPS to add. And I have, because you do 36 in that style greenhouse, my size, it's pretty standard. And I still have some LEDs in there. I have, I think, almost a full row, and then I have a patch of a few of them here or there, and we could walk down the aisles and look at, here's the ones that have HPS only, here's the ones that have HPS and LED, here's the ones that have just mostly mostly LED. And definitely the combo were the best looking plants in a greenhouse, getting natural light as well. And in the same move, in all my indoor rooms, I was like, well, I'm going to save myself $1, and I'm going to put these extra fucking LEDs in my indoor grow rooms. And so I did that in one foul swoop without thinking about it. And in one of the rooms, I didn't tag any of my plants, which is a common thing to me. And I'm breeding in all these rooms. I know what the male's in there, and I know that I have a splattering of all my genetics in there. And I was like, I'll just go and tag them, in flower, right? Which is something that I commonly do if whatever, I'm just like, don't worry about it. And anyways, I didn't know, and maybe that's something that's a nutrient deficiency that I don't know about. But all the morphology in all my plants was totally different. They all looked the fucking same, and I could barely tell the difference in smell in some of them. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And so I like what that one room I just called Total Wash and decided to do a fucking open pollination. Like I mean it's 8 lights of fucking seeds with all my genetics, and I just went and just spread them on the ground. And I'm like, I'm gonna do open pollination. Fuck it, like. But I don't know. Like, so the question is, long story short, I've said that like 5 times on your show.
It's all good, man.
Is that common with LEDs? Did you experience that? The plant morphology was just like totally different, and like, is that a nutrient deficiency that you learned to solve, or? I mean, my environment's on point. You know, I'm running hot temps. You know,
for me personally, it was a matter of understanding. Yeah, a lot to do with the amount of DLI or that daily light integral, which you're doing your calculations if you're running your greenhouse lighting out.
For my greenhouse, but for these guys, I mean, I have a little par meter on my phone, nothing fancy, right? And I actually had the guy that funny enough that sold me those fucking LEDs came back and bought half of them from me. And when he was in here, I was like, hey, come check these rooms out. And I showed him, and he's like, yeah, you're right on. He had a fancy light meter, and he thought I was right on according to his spec.
Okay. All right.
So
that's the thing I noticed or I ran into was like when I went to the LED, if I was running at full power, the actual amount of intensity hitting the canopy was, if I calculated that out to the DLI, was like way higher than what I really wanted it to be. So I was having to dial them back to kind of, so I was really hammering the plants with light, and that was where I was seeing it was really showing its hand on you know, the purple striping.
Interesting.
And like yellow topping and some of that.
I didn't get any yellow topping. I mean, I'm getting, you know,
but that was under a light stress, I guess, is what I was.
Yeah. No, so I wonder if this guy probably wasn't thinking about that. The guy that sold me probably wasn't thinking about DLI. So like, I wonder if I could like, I've done this before, but like switch my lights to a pattern within the light cycle. You know, so like, you know, half the room, like in the room, within the room, half the lights are on, or maybe every other for half an hour, and then the other half hour, the other ones go on. So that they would have less light overall through the period. They would stay in photo period, but you know, the intensity would reduce overall.
Yeah, because that's actually kind of an interesting thing I just came across too, is like the idea that so as light intensity increases, the plant's rate of photosynthesis decreases. So like, I guess the way to look at it would be
right.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a curve, you know what I'm saying? So
right. Yeah.
You give it, the less efficient it is. So if you jump, you know, from 500 ppfd say to 1,000, you're not necessarily doubling your yield or doubling your, you know, photosynthetic rate or what it can produce, because it's still a reaction or whatever. But yeah, so the plant is actually more efficient photosynthetically produced. As like the same DLI, it would be having less light over a longer period to maintain that same DLI number versus like a shorter day and hammering them with light, because the plant's going to be able to utilize the light more efficiently in actually producing the sugar that it wants. You know, so,
right. Makes sense.
But that's something, yeah, like the DLI thing was a curve that, you know, definitely had to kind of figure out for me anyway to really kind of that.
So then dimming is the answer. Is simply the answer.
Yes. Yeah. Dimming it was the answer, or changing time on. You know what I mean? So either way, but
yeah.
So there's definitely some uniqueness about it, you know. But the one thing that gets me is it's so common to hear people talk about adding magnesium for those, and like for me, you know, maybe that's what threw mine so out of whack, is I did try that at one point, but it was always a negative reaction anytime I applied you know, like an Epsom salt as a foliar. It was like a negative in the plant. So you know, I just naturally shied away from it just from visually seeing the response in the plant. So it was interesting that the soil test fell in line and showed that as being way the high out of balance one, because that's actually what I was seeing through my foliar
spraying too with them. So they responded really well to potassium or amino acids or like the fulvic acid. And I was low in nitrogen, I was low in potassium, you know what I mean? So it was kind of like seeing that little test made me give all these ahas to
Right.
in the plant, from the way it was growing and responding to stuff too. So made it pretty interesting. But yeah, man. So that's kind of those were the list of questions I had, dude. I don't know if
Sure, yeah,
we're
man.
a steam or not or whatever. I do have some other thoughts on, you mentioned breeding, so I do want to bring up the fact that you got the regenerative seed company going still, right? And I like the idea behind that. I'm just going to give this quick spiel of the idea that the soil biology that the plants were bred in is actually getting imparted into the seed that is getting sold. So in a lot of cases, like someone like me, I'm growing in a living soil system. There's some thought or debate or course of debate on whether, if I get it from a hydro system, is it going to do as well as if I got it from a regenerative camp? The other thought is that I'm getting an inoculation somewhat of the biology that original garden had too. So there's some pretty cool lines of thought behind that. So I think it's a cool concept you put together there.
Yeah, man. I think it would be cool when we can sell the seed and the weed, the seed in the buds, because then like we could really sell like a true, and I've been thinking about this. Have you heard I bet you've heard the Dr. James White stuff.
Yeah. For anybody listening, that's that rhizophagy cycle.
The rhizophagy and the relationship with microbes, and endophytes and the plants and the seed and so I heard his talk with on AEA with John, and I emailed him. This was last year pre-COVID, and I was like wanting him to come out to the conference, and he was down, and then COVID happened, and we just stopped it. So we talked on the phone a couple times, and then we actually did a Future Cannabis Project together show. I don't know if you caught it, but that one, like, I actually should go back and listen to it because I was like a fucking fun moment for me, because as he was giving every time I listened to his presentation, it's kind of the same presentation, maybe a little bit different here or there, but I always have these thoughts, and I'm like, well, that's true, then this, and then I got to ask all those questions, and mostly I was interested in seed storage and biology and the transfer of the microbes, through that process, and that basic question, like, is it true? Is biointelligence and seed production true? And basically we got to the bottom of yes, and the yes, seed should be stored with biology on it, similar to the way we store our compost, similar to how Leighton was able to store his compost at just the right amount of moisture stability to hold stasis, and then sealed up,
Yeah.
And as I've been thinking about that, and harvesting weed and drying weed with seed in it, I think that it's probably going to be best that we do it where the weed is a little bit wet, and spongy, where it's like a little bit like you don't want to smoke it because it's a little bit too harsh almost.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, we need to take this to the microscope. I'm kind of just hypothesizing in this, as I look at this, as I, don't cure weed right and don't dry it right, and I pull the seeds out and I think about it, and when you do that, how, like, if you don't get enough moisture out of the bud, like at the end, you don't bud rot it necessarily, but it kind of can ferment a little bit and change flavor, and it's not from what it originally was, and it kind of goes to this like fermented thing, and you're like, fuck, like, yeah, like if you haven't done that, then you haven't tried enough weed. Tried enough weed, in my opinion. But I think that at that stage, somewhere in that stage, there is where we're going to have a good moisture content to keep that biology on the seed. Is where I'm trying to get to. Because the where we have it to dry and smoke is a little too dry, I think.
I get where you're going with that, but
That's where I
the
was
whole
going with
idea
it.
though is even having them inside the seed shell too. You know, what I mean, like the plant.
Sure. No, that exists too. Like they're on the root. That's all there. But the whole package, you know, then the seed really is, like you say, an inoculation, and you know, from my garden to yours, or vice versa.
Yeah, I think that's a interesting way to look at it too, as far as like possibly transfer of some type of a terroir too, because you know the thought of different soil biology stimulating the DNA in the plant differently to express a certain way differently even plays into those flavor profiles. So possibly having that biology present from the original garden might even impart more of the original expression, so to speak. You know? There's a lot of thought or dreams about it, I guess. There's nothing to back any.
Yeah. So how much do you mess around with your temperature in your indoor with your room? Like
Uh,
when I in my indoors, I like to keep them the same temperature.
Day and night, is that what you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I try to keep it within a 10-degree swing. So yeah, I gotta
But
run.
in my greenhouse, I cool at 86. I keep my humidity at during the day. I heat to 278 during the day. I cool 270 to 86. I keep my humidity at 70, sometimes 65 in the winter.
Okay.
Um, and then at night I drop to what is it now? 55.
Oh wow.
Uh, and that ain't nothing, right? That ain't nothing, man. And I think I have it at 55, 60% humidity at night. I don't remember actually. I have to go back and check. I'm banking it. I'm bringing it down to get ready for opening it up for the summer, because it gets cold here at night. Like it'll be 50 degrees, like 50 to 55 degrees at night on the regular in August, and then 84 degrees during the day. And in my greenhouse, it's, 87, 90, too, on a really hot day where it's,
Yeah.
and so I like it, it'll go that far. And we have high humidity too, where I don't get sun in half of my garden in August till 10 o'clock. And there'll be dew on the plants still at 10 o'clock, like every day. And like with buds on them, dew, like, in the fall. And that is, and learning from Kevin Jodrey, like those guys in California have so much experience, because they grow from the coast, like where I'm at. I'm 5 minutes from the beach, all the way out to the desert. If you, I don't know if you, how much time you've been out in California, but it changes quite a bit, and there's all these different hills, and anyways, the more temperature variation you have, the more humidity you have, the colder you get, the more terpenes, the more flavor. You also get a softer bud. And you go and you move into the drier regions, you get a harder bud, but it's hotter and drier, and it burns off your terpenes. They're just more volatile in the dry.
It,
So
it's interesting that you said that, because you're actually the second person I've heard say that, and I can't place where the other was, but they said that, yeah, a wider range in day to night temperature can actually trigger a higher terpene expression from the plant, or it'll trigger the plants in different ways, like whatever their genetic expression is for that colder, but it definitely changed their reaction, I guess, or whatever. So a lot of
yeah,
people put cold on them at finishing flower, trying to get them to throw the purple colors. But just to clarify, like we're talking about just allowing a bigger swing in temperature from day to night, not necessarily like freezing them just to freeze them or whatever.
Yeah, and I had done that too, so when I used to have warehouse, and so I would do a lot more. I would have a lot more play there and do those things and leave them in the dark for 24 hours and harvest in the dark. And when it comes all back around, some of those things are really good ideas. Like I think harvesting in the dark is a really good idea, a really, really good idea. And I think that I actually was struggling with some curing for a while, and I was like, that was one of the things that I was missing. I know that through cloning, and so I don't know why that didn't translate in my head, very quickly, but I can't take a clone out of my greenhouse past 10 o'clock, 11, 12 o'clock, today I took the last ones at 12 o'clock and they were a little droopy. In the summer, I couldn't do that, but in an indoor grow with big 1000 water just right above those suckers, I can go in there and cut them pretty much any time of day, no problem. Put them in the cloners, no problem.
Yeah.
But they'll just droop right over. I mean, they'll droop in minutes. Like you take them up, put them right in the water. Nothing. They just droop because they're just open and expressing, and the water's flowing so fast, and they can't handle it.
Now, do you mess with planting by the moon cycle or anything?
It's low down. No, I wish I did. That's one of those things I always want to do, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I've not been able to dial that in, like, because I think it's just I'm just growing a lot of plants, and doing. So I'm looking at that,
I was just wondering too, because like there's like people who swear by harvesting certain type of moon phase, and I'm not actually sure how true it is, but there's one that's referred to as like a water moon, and I want to say even in agriculture there's certain crops like what is it, wheat or one of the grains that they harvest, and it's certain percentage of water weight more if they harvest at a certain moon schedule and stuff too. I just wonder if
I mean, I don't doubt it, and I think it makes a lot of sense, the gravitational pull, and how that works, and like I used to do a lot of my seed germination in little cups. I'd soak them, for 24, 48 hours or whatever, and I feel like I could see the difference. Maybe then I could notice it, but now I do all my germination like directly in the soil, and I don't know if I can notice the difference, man, to be honest. So it's something I'd like to do, but I just haven't in my scheduling. I just haven't had I haven't made it a focus, I guess is probably the best way to say it.
Yeah, no, and some people are swear by it, like I say, and some people are like,
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know if it lines up to what I'm doing or when I'm doing it, maybe. But it's a whole different ball game, like you say, like just to kind of back what you were getting at. I mean, like cracking 6 seeds at a time is a whole lot different than 6,000 at a time.
Yeah, or 100 or 200 or 500 is a lot, and like this morning before noon, me and Sunnyland Grown, we took like 800 cuts, that, and like,
Are those all different phenos then, Josh? Are those like from seeds?
he did 4 trays of one cultivar, okay. And I did basically 4 trays of one cultivar but different phenos. All right. So I was kind of walking back and forth.
That makes it a lot tougher if you're trying to like keep track of, this trace
right.
Different phenos in it. And this
right, yeah. But no, typically it's like a 5-gallon bucket's worth of cuts, like bustling, like bucket full of cuts that we just, we're just like for what we're doing right now, because I'm taking on a second license and we're trying to put 2,000 plants up there, and then I'm sending 1,500 plants out to my buddy in Eastern Washington, and then I need 1,000-ish, 2,000 at least here. I don't know. I'm kind of like flexible on the number I have here. I'm
Yeah,
I'm doing a lot of full term this year, where in the past I tried to do depping and last year, and I don't know. I'm going for hash and full term hash this year, and RSO, and then I'm leaning on my greenhouse hard to to make some flower, and then I got this new one that I'm building so I can keep on my veg, and that's really changed the whole game for me. Before I had to like balance my greenhouse as a veg and flower depending on the season and the year, and so that's kind of everything's been really hectic. But if I have this full time huge veg, it's going to drastically change. That greenhouse is going to be flipping for the first time, and so
That's a
I'm
lot of
really
work.
excited about. Yeah.
Now, do you bring in crews at people? I mean, you said you mentioned friends help and stuff, but is it primarily you, or do you have people that come in?
It's been primarily me for years, and then I have people come in and harvest, and sometimes plant. I have people come in and plant, and other tasks too. You know, like sometimes I'll have friends come in like help me tag. You know, because it's a lot of tagging, stuff like that. And honestly, I hate to say it, but the older I have a really bad back, like really bad back, and that's how I got into this. And so the older I'm getting, like to crank out 1,000 tags on my knees is like really like kind of like busting my ass a little bit. So I'm like just like pay someone a little bit to do that. So, but that helps me get numbers too, and then I can do the chores of watering and nutrients and most of the pruning and like most of the care all the way through to harvest. You know, taking on this tier 3, that'll be too much for sure. That's way. So that's why Sunnyland Growing's working with me. Seattle Superchronics working with me on this. So we got like a team, and then they're bringing in friends to do, you know, tasks. So we had like 5 people out yesterday, you know, doing clones and transplanting and like, you know, all the stuff. So it's fun. I got a crew going right now, and it's fun to smoke and hang out with folks. And
That, man, that makes it a lot better. Some, you know, like
yeah,
I work alone too, so it's kind of like, yeah, at some point it's like nice to have a little camaraderie with it. At the end of the day, it's an accomplishment, a group accomplishment kind of thing. You know, there's
totally. It's fun. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Team.
yeah, and then seed wise, I'm that's all clone work, which is fun. Seed wise, I'm really just doing my own stuff and stuff of genes crosses off genes crosses that I made. For the most part, I have some other people, some males that I pulled from other people's stuff that I'll be working in this year. Last year I have like, I don't know, 12 or 13 males out. What's up?
As I was gonna say, unless you don't want to say or whatever.
No. Last year I pulled, let's see, I got a cool skunk band from Dominion. And I got like a bunch of stuff, a cool polecat. There's a lime pop kush from Gene that I pulled from a big sift. There's a Pam from Family Tree Seeds that I pulled that's pretty cool. And I got the Black Wop male. I'm forgetting a bunch of them. There's a bunch that have mess.
Just because I have it, you have that Sky Jarro by Ghost OG too. I thought you said you were working more on that.
No, I have the I went the with the I did the Sky Jarro again. I made the F4 on that, and then I did the Sky Jarro lime pop, not the Ghost. I did run them, but I wasn't able to make seeds on them. They couldn't handle the environment for whatever reason. The Sky Jarros did the best for me. And then I found a few of the lime pops that worked. And so I just like, all right, I'm going to take those and move those forward. And I just saved the males, and I haven't done anything with them. But the males that I'm excited that I'm like focusing on right now is the cherry lime male that I pulled, and I've used him on a bunch of stuff. So I need to open up and test that gear. And I got a couple of root beer males I want to mix in. root beer GMO back cross males, and ATF. I got these 2 ATF BX males. I like to do 2s if I can, 2s or 3s in the males.
Like pollinating at the same time.
Uh-huh.
What's the thought behind that, though?
Diversity.
Okay.
Genetic diversity. Yeah. I mean, if you can, then I'm just trying to make cool stuff, and then as I find cool stuff, then I can narrow down in on it, So the Black Wap Gold is, I'm just gonna focus it down on gas, Yeah, but these 2 ATFs, they go totally different directions in flavor, and so there's one that is I don't know what they're gonna do until I dump them, test the progeny, so that I can go, okay, this one puts that, this one puts that,
Yeah, that'll be cool though to see, especially
right.
if they're that distinctly different. If you have markers or something to kind of ID
right
them.
so that in that case I can do that, but then often I just like going, okay, well I just and it's partly because I when I started learning to garden, I was reading organic gardening books about open pollinated seeds, and so when I started my vegetable CSA years ago, I only grew, and I marketed it like it was cool. I thought it was cool that I grew only open pollinated seeds. And in my mind, that's super open source, and that you can give someone a tomato, and that they can take that tomato and make that same seed, and it's just that simple, and it's going to be that same tomato. And we don't really have that in cannabis, but in some ways we could kind of get to it with work, and that's why I was talking about that open pollination project. Like I'm literally I was like, fuck it, I've always wanted to do this. Like it's something, it's kind of it was a joke, but it's something I've always wanted to do, and just you never have like the gumption to waste. You think about wasting. I even just said a wasting a room, because it's going to take me how many generations? I don't even fucking know, 6, 7, 8. And then it'll neck itself down, and it'll be what it is, and it'll be a result of my environment, the nutrients I'm giving it, and however else I affect it, but it also how the genetics just neck themselves down, and that I think is a really cool fucking thing to be able to like Johnny Appleseed some shit, and have the same thing with every seed, I don't know, that sounds cool to me.
Yeah, no, I like the concept though. I just haven't heard a lot of people talk about it. Like, it is something like I did similar, just fucking around. I made a handful of seeds, but I did the same thing. I used multiple males and multiple girls, and then, but each girl I guess kept separate. So I kind of knew, but the thought there was opening up that diversity just to kind of get a crapshoot at maybe a
Sure.
3-point shot or some shit that swishes, like who knows?
Totally.
Whatever. But I like it. Yeah, it's still
everything's cool in the room, so like it's gotta be cool. Whatever's gonna come out, it's gonna be cool. I think, right?
I mean, that's the thought. I mean, it's outside of having traits or problems that might pass along, right? Like hermaphroditic or whatever kind of.
I'd see that along the way, they may be like, oh shit, well that sucks. I just wasted, whatever.
Yeah, no, I get you. And that's kind of my thought too, is I can do a little messing around, and like now I got a handful that I kind of put together a couple combinations, and who knows, like it's all just playing around. So I dig it. I'm starting to get into it more and more. So learning more about it, and like it's cool stuff. The whole idea of how you want to express that or bring it to the people, if you do bring it out there, or what you're really trying to go after. Do you want them all to look identical, or do you want them all to be inbred, or are you trying to make something like grandma or whatever?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things you can do, and it's really fun. What are you growing in your garden right now?
Oh man, I got a ton of them. I got kind of a few too many probably, but shit. I actually just harvested that Sky Gyro Ghost OG. I got two phenos. That's kind of the first time even smoking them. They're just barely dry, and then Grim Glue from Brothers Grimm. I got Sea Stars from 808 Genetics. Um, Guys, some of my keepers I keep running are like Rascalberries from Sin City Seed, Blue Line Pie from Sin City, Unicorn Poops like Thug Pug. I got a Gorilla Glue 4 cut. I got an original, supposedly original Ghost OG cut. Supposedly, that Gorilla Glues. These are cuts I received, so I don't know how far back they go. They fit the profile for what they're supposed to be. So, and one I'm really interested in, I don't know if you've ever experienced a ton, but it's an old cut of Skywalker OG, and I received it from a friend who was like shutting his room down. And he was like, "This is the one. If I had to get my one that I wanted to save, this would be the one." So I saved it for a few years, and it was actually really struggling. It always would stay, kind of in pissed off mode. It was like purple stemmy and three leaves and shit like that for quite a long time. And recently it snapped out of it, and it is the fucking most kick-ass smoke. It's like my favorite to smoke all the time. It's almost hard to describe, but it's just such a cool flavor. So that's one I'm kind of excited for, because I did hit some of the males to that. Like I said, it was just a rooted clone, so it was like I got 50 seeds or whatever from it, but it's going to be one that I'm excited about to see if that flavor will kind of carry through in the progeny. So
Man, I I'm such a dork. What year was this? Like, I don't know. Number of years ago, there was a Star Wars movie coming out, and I was like, I got the fucking Death Star. I got the Skywalker. Here I fucking go, bro. Like, I lined up for Christmas, and this was dispensary days, and no one gave two fucks. They were just like, I was like, yeah, I got the movie's coming out next week, dude. They give two fucks. Like, how much do you want? Like, way too much, fucker. But yeah, I did 2 rounds on it. I don't know if I had the right cut, or if it just struggled in my garden for whatever reason. Like, I had got some big old yields on it, but it wasn't like the flavor profile wasn't hitting me right. So when you were saying that, I was like, maybe I wasn't giving enough love or something, didn't give it the proper time.
And I don't know the legitimacy of the cut either. It was just, this is what, it obviously has some really unique flavor to it. So I understand why it was his favorite or whatever. But yeah, it's just always kind of intrigued me, because it's kind of, yeah, just something that's a mystery or an anomaly a little bit. But I guess as far as unique things, that's kind of the one I think I got that might be a little bit cool. Because I hear a lot of people talk about the dog walker, and I don't know if there's a relation between that and the original like Skywalker either. So
No, it's Chem Dog and Albert Walker.
is it okay?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can't say that there's no relation, but I don't know. I think the Skywalker is a headband offshoot. I'm gonna mess up. It might,
Yeah.
someone in the chat should correct me on that. But they're the Albert Walker. I don't believe those two are related.
Okay. Well, what ones are you excited about then, as far as flavoring wise, flavor profile wise, or what would be your idea to find out of them? I guess
I'm really excited about the root beer right now. Obviously, like it's got a lot of hype on it, but it's I got to run the flowers as I was dumping the cherry lime males on them that I got. That was just a pollen chuck, and I thought I put those in there and took cuts, and then took the cuts and put them in my greenhouse. And I did that a long time ago, and they're 6 feet tall, and I've got cuts on cuts on cuts on them, stacking up for the season. And so I haven't got a chance to smoke it. So it's a long awaited like deal here. And I actually got this. I'm really excited about this. This is Chem Dog Special Reserve Cross Root Beer. And I'm going to pop these the next day or two.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited about root beer, and I'm really excited about a lot of my garden, man. I'm pretty tough on selection. The males, they're this thing over here, but when it comes to like cuts, I got this really cool Ethiopian. A couple of years back, Joel from my Tao Foundation gave me a bud, and he's like, this is from Ethiopia. If you find any seeds in it, like count your blessings, type deal. And I got a couple seeds out of it, and ended up getting 2 to germinate, and ran 2 of them for a couple years outdoors. And I even bred them both down 2 separate lines, and I have seeds and stuff, crosses of these, all crosses of crosses. And I have made so many seeds that I haven't opened up, dude. I just keep making seeds, and I'm like Masonic in that way. I just don't sell them.
That's fucking awesome. I'll take the blow. Just a nudge.
I shouldn't poke the bear, dude. I really like. Maybe can we edit that?
Say you're gonna have a meme.
I do not want to poke the fucking bear with that, dude.
That's hilarious.
I don't even know what I was just saying now.
I dig it though, because you're excited about it. That's kind of what I've got lined up too. It's almost like I got the opportunity, and I have a little space where I can dedicate to just fuck it. I'm gonna throw a male in, and I got a few males I want to try, and a few girls I can put in there with them. And I'm just, I'm not really, I don't have any intention to sell them, but I want to fucking just see what comes from it. You know what I mean? Like it's, I think it almost is, it is kind of like an extension of just that curiosity. You know what I mean? Like there's always that curiosity to find that flavor or whatever, and there's obvious talented breeders out there like Gene or Jackson, from I don't know, Freeborn Selection or whatever. I don't know if he still goes by that, but yeah, I mean they lock in on this flavor. Like Kaya's got that coffee or whatever too, and they have a talent and nose for that. It's fucking. I've had his coffee and smoke from Nick Risden actually at one of the organic cup, and yeah, dude, it was fucking delicious. It was like
nice.
So I would imagine that root beer's gotta be fucking amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited about the coffee too. I just got that. I haven't grown it. I've smoked it a couple times. It's really good, really fucking good. It's one of my faves. It's definitely my profile. A dog walker is like my all-time favorite. I'm hoping root beer will dethrone that. We'll see. Dog walker has its challenges in terms of it's not the best cloner, and it's not like a showstopper visually. So commercially producing it, it's one of the loudest plants I've ever had. That and the Paiho and the GMO are kind of like the louder ones I've ever had. They just like push through. Like with the dog walker, I always tell the story. I've had it like in jars and suitcases, inside a room, and just like walking by the hallway, you could hear it creeping through you know what I mean? Like you're just like, God damn, it's in a jar in a suitcase with the door closed and it's crumping for me.
That's awesome.
But yeah.
Yeah, as far as loud weed goes, I heard Potent Ponic Steve was talking today on the one Future Cannabis project or whatever, and he said in Africa, if you had the really loud weed, it would bring in the black mamba snakes or some shit. So like Like that's how they knew if they had the loud weed was if the fucking snakes were congregating to find the fucking stash. Like, who the fuck, man? Like that's some shit. Like if venomous fucking snakes coming, that means
That's
you got some
funny.
real good shit, man.
That's
Like,
funny.
yeah, I never heard that before. But glad we don't have them damn things around here for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but what else am I excited about? I walk through the garden. What do we? The Congo. I'm going to do a bunch of the Congo, the Roberts Creek Congo this year. I'm trying. Yeah, in the Ethiopian. I'm trying to get more sativas out. And I'm really excited about this one. I'm calling Post Malone. It's Carl Malone Cologne Cross, the Black Wap Gold, Black Lime Reserve Testarossa. Okay. And I ran a little population of it in that open pollination room, and it was like, oh, super, super hot. So it's super gassy, super burnt rubbery, little bit of orange from the Skittles. It's got the orange from the Skittles, and then this something else, misty, Cali misty kind of thing. Like I got really excited about that, the Cali mist, what's being thrown in there. So I got Cali mist seeds going too. I'm excited about those. I got so much shit, man. So it's like I have to literally walk through. I'm like, oh yeah, fuck, this is cool. Come look at this. Like they're like, oh, the Cali mist, yeah. So I hit up AK Bean Brains, and I must have said something on a post. I did. I put a post up. I wanted the Cali mist. It's like, who's got the Cali mist? AK Bean Brains sent me some Cali mist.
Oh yeah.
So I got those going, and I'm excited about those. He's also sent me some fucking, what was it? I'm gonna mess it up. I can't remember. He sent me 2 or 3 packs, but yeah, I'm excited looking at his shit.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff coming from AK Bean Brains too. A friend of mine, American one, has his blueberry. He's always kind of bragging about. So
nice.
Yeah.
The Americana, that's what he sent me. The Americana.
Oh yeah, oh shit. It's ironic. That's funny shit. Yeah.
I got some blueberry too, from a homeboy down south. He got some F5 or F13. I can't remember, blueberry, and he's been running that out for a few generations, and so he sent it up to me. And I was super appreciative of that.
I've heard that's kind of a hard one to get carried through. That one, I guess I don't know, doesn't carry through easy in breeding, or it's hard to lock down or whatever.
To keep the flavor to come through.
Yeah, yeah, and then yeah. I think it was Lemon Hoko was maybe talking about that because he kind of tracked that one down too.
Right, him and Kaya mess with that blueberry.
Yeah, it's interesting some of that because it's like, as stoners, we just think, oh, fucking cookies and cream, man, and I could fucking put that with this, and it's gonna taste
right.
Like it doesn't necessarily work out like that. It's funny.
Yeah,
I found that interesting too, where Lemon Hoko was talking about, sometimes when you get real crazy with, this strain, that strain all together, it kind of just makes this like earthy, weird terpene where it's just like, no, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like a dirt terp or whatever. Comes through. So some of that stuff almost ends up in a dead end where you're kind of like, it's not really what it's supposed to be. So
yeah, I did. So I got this really cool ATF cut. That's what it was given to us as, or not given, bought. And I've seen stuff, other ATF stuff that looks like it, but is not the exact same thing. Like, yeah, that's definitely, it, but it's, that's not fucking the deal. It's not as good. And then I've seen pictures of plants and it doesn't look exactly the same. And me and my buddies have passed it around, and just like very few buddies, like 3, 4 buddies, 5 tops, like my best buddies from high school, and the only people that have it are me and this guy Rob. But I've seen I had some friends that had a Cali Mist. This is also why I was excited about it. Cali Mist Cross ATF Cross here in the rec market, and they were giving me a tour of their garden, and we were walking through, and they were like, "This one is," I was like, "ATF," and she like looks at me and she's like, "That's got to have some ATF in it, right?" And she's like, "It's Cali Mist Cross ATF." I'm like, she's like, "How'd you know?" I was like, "I've been growing this plant for ever. Like I like know this plant really well. I could just pick it out of a room. It's very distinct to me." And anyways, they called it, "Oh yeah," this cross. Cali Mist Cross ATF is called "Oh yeah," and it is some of the Cali Mist source through. It's just so bright and fresh. It's like, I don't know. It's very invigorating and really lit me up. And so I did a bunch of ATF crosses also at that time. And when I looked through them, this was a couple of years ago, I was getting a lot of wine terps and floral terps. And I really had no place for it in my palate at that moment. Like I was like, this is amazing. This is cool. I don't want to smoke this.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel that way a lot about a lot of things. I'm just like, okay, this is awesome. Like, I have some really good forbidden fruit hash here, and I'm gonna smoke it. And I have like 3 or 4 jars of it. It's really, really delicious, but it's not my favorite flavor, just straight oranges, it just isn't, so I'd rather smoke something that tastes more like a tennis ball, than an orange.
Yeah.
But
what is that Cali Mist flavor? I'm familiar with Cali.
It's like I don't know. It's like it sounds, man. To me, it was just a very fresh spring mist, like after it rains kind of type thing, That's what I was pulling from the, it's hard for me to describe flavors, but that's how I was thinking about it.
Obviously potent as hell, or it wouldn't be.
Yeah, and so I wanted to mix all that up again with the ATF, knowing that what the ATF kind of throws this weird floral thing, even though it's not that floral, and then having the experience with my friend's cross and just like see how that goes, and I'm kind of excited about that. I'm excited about the ATF in general.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Thunderfuck. I remember hearing that too, that you had a pretty real loud cut of that. But
and then and then I said earlier I have the cool BXs, so I want to do this one. I want to do I'll do a BX one way, the BX2 one way, and the BX2 another way, using 2 separate males, right? And then that same pollination, I'll pollen chuck. That's what I mean when I pollen chuck, is like I have something I'm trying to do in a room, and I'll just, because I have big rooms. I have like 6 light, 8 light. The 8 light rooms are my breeding rooms, and so like I just fill it full of everything else.
Yeah.
And then that's bonus, and I'm like, oh, I'll go through that later, just throw it in the back, so that's what ends up happening. And then I'm going after one thing, and then I just kind of make a bunch of extra stuff. And then
sounds like fun though. That's kind of what my plan is too, just to, like the one male I got is the Sky Cutler Kush F3. So shout out to CJ Apple in chat there. He actually made it out to the Emerald Cup and got those from Jackson. So
nice.
And then he didn't have the opportunity to run them, but he knew the value of them. So he was like, "Hey man, we gotta get these out." So
that's cool.
Yeah, so that was just a really amazing gift. I got some of the flower I'm smoking on now, and then nice male. So I lined that up. It was just whatever.
Which way'd you go on it? I've run a bunch of those, man. That's one of my favorite smokes, dude.
I gotta. I guess I would have. To me, there was 2 of them. The phenos I had, and the girls anyway, smelled like more like a juicy fruit, kind of a sweeter smell to them. But it didn't seem to really have, I guess a loudness to it. I don't know. I shouldn't say I finally decided. I'm still kind of smoking them and checking them out. But the pheno that I really decided on had more that it was more to me more kind of like a peppery to it. I don't know. At least in the plan it had that. So, but it's more of a noticeable. I don't know. I guess it's what I describe as the dank, is where it kind of hangs in the sinus there, and it's like
Right.
that linger after you fucking exhale it. The other ones didn't really seem to have that. They did, but it was like in that sweet category.
That's the one I went for, was the one that holds in your nose.
Yep.
The dank is exactly how I describe it. And there were, that was in the profile. I don't know what the ratio was, but there was one that I found that just really was loud in that, and and I found the Mayo had a stem rub on that, and I made crosses with it, and I have a Ethiopian Sky Cuddler cross.
Okay.
Cut that I pulled last year. That's pretty cool. I'm going to call it Sheshamani Cuddler. And do something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to call it, but yeah.
Dude, making up the names is like half the fun. I got a list of shit. Like
I have so much anxiety about it because I feel like, I mean, I feel like you have to play homage to both lineages, and it has to be funny as fuck. And
right.
And then and I just so I've been shit the bed on it because I have so much pressure. I feel like the best analogy I have was in high school. I really liked to play basketball, and I played on the team, and I wasn't that good because I was so anxious. And the fucking day I graduated, I was fucking my game just got so good. I was just because I worked so hard, but the pressure was gone, and I was fucking, Yeah. But totally shit the bed under pressure.
That's so true though, man. Like the name is kind of funny. It's interesting, and I don't know about I don't necessarily think the whole idea the name has to pay homage to the plant, but I do think it should have some bearing onto what you're kind of expecting, I guess, too. Some of that stuff gets out there, but listing the cross, you can always list that down below it too, with some parentheses and male.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that it's there was a day where you'd be berry wives, it's blueberry and white widow, no, or what, you know what I mean? Whatever the fuck, it's just
yeah, but the whole dessert.
The dessert stuff got so crazy, just oh my gosh, slurry, Zuri, Zlurbert,
Skittles and Runts and all those too. Yeah,
there's so many gelatos. I like gelato too, so I'm not even trying to talk shit. But there's so many that I haven't never tried. What's up?
I have had one that I really I've had gelato that was just so delicious, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful nug. And then I've had other gelatos that were really pretty and frosty, just didn't have that same flavor or whatever. So I think there definitely is, there's a reason a lot of people are grabbing it. I mean, it's not to say if you've had a bad gelato, it's you just didn't have the right one almost, I think.
Do you know which one you had?
I want to say it was 33, and then was it 41 or 44 was the other one I tried. And I want to say the 33 was the one that I thought was
that's the one you liked.
Yeah, I really carried it, and it could have been, some of it could have been where it was grown, something like that. I don't know. Maybe I had them backward, but
no, I like the 33 and the 41. They've all gotten new names now, as far as I understand.
Oh, really?
And I don't know. Yeah, there's lemon. I just got the lemon gelato, which I'm stoked to chat. There's Bacchia and sour candy apple. I've heard is the really, really hot one.
So those are just different phenos of the same gelato or whatever. Okay. See, that's where, yeah, I guess the name game kind of, but you know, do you want what gelato, all the different numbers, or do you want to actually kind of, to me, it makes a little more sense to separate them like name wise too.
Well, I kind of, because it's, I don't know. Well, like it's like the Chem thing, right? So there's Chem 91. It's like they're the different seeds that were popped, and in that scenario, that makes a whole lot of sense to me. Um, yeah, I like the tradition of it. For better or for worse, I like it.
Yeah, I do too.
I I'm not that I will always follow it, but I do like it. You know.
Yeah, I guess there's that line too where like you know, are you really kind of just grabbing, you know, if you're not the original breeder and you're gonna, you know what I mean, you're gonna do some work. Like I say, I make an F2 of whatever breeder stuff, and then just kind of use that name because they're a famous breeder to carry on
Right.
popularity or whatever. So some of that, I guess, is kind of where like, you know,
Totally. Like you have to. I feel like you have to earn a little bit of something with it. Like you know. So and this is that I might have crossed the line a little bit. The Testarossa Black Lime Reserve was made by Urban Turp Farmer. And I've been pretty open about that. He made the F1 and he gave me those, and and I ran through them, and I had a shit year, and them, and he also gave me a Testarossa lime vine, and a handful of those plants were the only ones that made it through, and they were stellar. And so I made a bunch of seeds with them. I F2'd them, and I went through them, and I went through 1,400 of them on the Black Lime Reserve, and like 900 on the lime vines. And I went a couple different directions with each of them. And the fucking one that I ended up landing really hard on, I ended up naming the Cut Black Wap Gold after like, I don't know, took me almost a year to decide like, okay, and talking with him, and like I sold some of his seed. I don't know, I'm just like, I put, you know, I'm not trying to name his thing or whatever, but you know, and I make an F3 of it, and I actually feel okay about it because I've done the work on it, you know, on this thing, and and every time I talk about it, I bring him up,
right.
and I don't know, so like I just feel like, you know, I'm not, you know, I'll probably toss him some bones on it too, you know, when if I make some money on it, you know.
Yeah, at a certain point though, I think we all stand on, everybody's standing on the shoulders.
Yeah.
So it's unavoidable at a certain point too.
And I asked him if I could breed with it, you know, and he's like, yeah. So it's like, I feel like as long as you're cool with everybody, and everybody's like, you know, and honest, like, you know, versus like, I don't know, I'm trying not to rip anybody off, but inevitably I'm going to do something that somebody else has already done. I'm right now, for the most part, I'm just making polyhybrids like everybody else, you know, trying to make something cool and having fun. And in my environment is the unique thing that I have going for me, you know, and that I have a really hard environment to grow in, and it also makes really stinky weed, and it's, you know, it's what I'm doing. It's fun.
Well, no doubt. And I think the unique part, like you just said, the environment there, because your selections from breeding are going to be the ones that are hardy in that. So, you know, that just kind of brings up that idea of like selecting even, you know, similar breeders like yourself, or people like Northern Michigan that are going to grow up, or whatever, that is in a similar climate or similar light schedule throughout the season, to where that plant's not going to be thrown for a loop if it hits, you know, 50 degrees one night or some shit, you know.
Right.
We can see that too, you know. It's like,
dude, I had a picture of on my phone somewhere from last season. It was like 44 or 42 degrees in like July or August. I was like, what the fuck, man?
they just shake it off like it ain't shit.
I mean, they don't like it, you know, like it's a lot, you know, they can handle all the way down. Like I've had, you know, frost on plants many a times. I've had, you know, downs into the 20s, and had them come back mid 20s, you know, like I think 22, I lost some tops, but that was in a greenhouse all winter, with them like slowly getting hardened off, you know, versus like a fucking sudden drop, you know, is quite a bit of a shock, you know.
Yeah, like you say, having that, they're kind of prepped for it if they're getting it. Yeah, like turning a frog up in the temperature up in a boiling frog.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting though.
And connecting to the ground, you know, there's a lot of factors because, you know, if like they're touching the ground, they stay a little warmer versus a pot. You know, like last night I moved out plants, I told you, and they're all on styrofoam, you know, so that they don't grow into the beds,
Okay.
you know, because I'm taking them up to this other farm and they're going all these places. And one of the sections we didn't cover with plastic. They were bigger plants. We didn't have any plastic. And I was like, oh, it's going to be 48, 38, 40. Like, they can handle it, you know, like kind of like feel like that on some things, you know, and they totally got frosted. And meanwhile, these males I just told you about, they're just to the left of me outside over here. They've been out for 2 weeks, maybe. And I looked at them, no frost in them, but they're sitting right on the ground. They're in pots, but they're on the ground. And so the warmth of the ground, like was, you know, convection keeping them warmer. And I was like, okay, shit. Well, that makes sense there, you know, and they've also been out getting used to it, you know, a little bit longer.
That's interesting too. Like, you wouldn't think that would make that huge of a difference, but I guess.
You wouldn't, you know, but it was like, you know, it was clearly, I looked back, I walked back to the males, I was like, oh shit, did I fuck them up? And they're like, just fine, dude.
Do you find males are a little tougher though? Like, or I mean,
Not
a lot of
necessarily.
people think the males will grow taller faster, and they tend to. I get that.
Well, so, yeah, some can, and they do, and genetically they have to, right? That's the idea, is to get up above the female so you can pollinate them.
Yeah.
But
I just didn't know if you see them where they're just typically a lot stronger for some of that too, or they're, I don't know.
that cherry pie lime male I have is a fucking beast. He is a beast and a half. I've never seen him. He grows fast. He puts out a ton of pollen, like so much goddamn pollen. So much. It's crazy. Yeah, I could have collected like a gallon of pollen, like no joke, off of this one plant that was like in the center of a room. It just kept growing and kept putting up pollen. And every time I'd cut him back, cut shit back, just kicking pollen. Like all the plants were coated in pollen. Like there was no like white hair to be found, you know.
He's just
Yeah, just getting it. So I've done one breeding with him, and I haven't tested the progeny yet, but I'm really stoked on him.
Now, do you save pollen, or is that something you collect?
No, I haven't done that yet. I mean, I have a couple of jars up in the freezer or whatever, but I haven't tested that theory. And like, I just been relying on saving the males because I have my license, so I have the plant count. And now having this new greenhouse, like, oh, fucking watch me now, dude. With like males, I'm just be like sticking stuff in there all the time, you
know. I love it though, man. It's cool. It's cool stuff. Shit, I had another thing I was gonna ask too, and I forgot now. Oh, do you keep males? Do you keep a male around and try to reuse them and stuff too?
Yeah, I do. So essentially, I'm like learning to breed cannabis. You know, I've been growing weed for a long time and cropping and like, you know, selecting cultivars from other cultivars, and same thing that you're doing. Anybody does, you know, just going through a lot. But I just started going through a lot of stuff, and then I started going through a lot of seeds, trying to find stuff that would work in my environment. And so now I'm trying to breed all that stuff and make cool stuff that works in my environment. Essentially, that's my goal. Okay. Stuff that makes that I like, period. Just like that's it. I figure if I can make stuff that I like a lot and that I like my stuff more than anybody else's, then there's got to be a few other people out there that are going to think that's cool. just at least a few, and they'll might want to buy my seeds. That's my like, I'm betting on that.
I get it now because you've done your selection. So like when you're taking the male to, like you said, breeding it to the ones you've already got, those are already ones are gonna do well and
well, that's what I was trying to say is, so that's what I'm right now. I'm doing all the work. I'm pulling through and selecting males and selecting females and breeding them, and it's just pollen checking. But what I'm doing is learning what they do, and along the way I get to check out cool stuff, and if I find something cool, then I get to do that. And but what I'm trying to learn what the male does and what he does to the different females, and then maybe along the way I might be someday I might be as smart as Gene, and I might be able to like be like, oh yeah, well this male does this, and he's going to pass on these characteristics, and this female takes on these, but she passes on these, and so if I put these two together, I'm probably going to get this, and I could make an intentional breeding. That's what I'm like, but basically you have to like first, at least this is how I'm going about it, is I first have to select plants that work within my environment. That was the biggest accomplishment, because I had to sacrifice space, time, tons of money, a couple seasons, lots of failure to find a few things that would work. The first basis of those was cuts that I've kept, but what those two cuts that I just told, or those two lines that I just told you about from Urban Turf Farmer, that was a really bad year, and I got really hammered. And so those were really strong things for me, and then I just kind of kept that process, and I'm continuing to like encourage that now through, like maybe not being as spot on of a grower in all my breeding rooms, but letting it be a little bit more natural, in some ways. So like when I start talking tech, in the earlier part of the show, it's like, oh shit, I gotta like put that thing on that I kind of don't think about that much anymore, because in large part I've just been like, trying to keep it real simple, but and now I'm also like kind of shifting back into like turning my greenhouse into a cropping machine, which I hasn't been. Yeah. And so my mind's kind of getting back into that, like, all right, we need to turn this up and get this race car, going.
The engine.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah.
No, I feel you, man. You get so much going on. That's the one thing. Like a lot of times, people, hey, why don't you do this, or you should, make cash, or make this or that, and it's just like, man, at a certain point, you just are like,
like what you can do.
Yeah, you can't. You just can't keep up with everything. It's like everything I do, growing keeps me busy enough. So I need help with trimming, or I need help with that, because you're just already at the rev limiter with everything else. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just trying to figure it out, like we all are, and I got myself into the position to have this license and do this thing, and I'm really just trying to make ends meet for my family, and at the basis of it, I want to work like 30-40 hours a week if I could at some point, like, and chill with my family and like make some cool shit.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to do a bunch of stuff to get to that point.
I hear you, man. That is the thing that it's easy to get carried away with doing this, that, and the other thing, and to forget, like, yeah, man, spending time with family's got to fit in there, and like time for you, time for, what I mean? You can't just be into it all the time. It's like, you gotta have a mental break at some point. I think that's healthy.
You got kids?
I have 2 daughters. Yeah.
Nice. How old are
they? 19 and 18, so, or soon to be 18, I guess. So. And I have a grandson that's 1 in 3 months, so 15 months. So.
Nice.
He's already getting to be a smart ass. So. Yeah, dude, he was over just today, man. He's a blast. Running around playing and shit. So yeah, he gets around pretty good now. Fun.
Yeah.
How old are your kids now?
I have a 4-year-old, and we just had a baby in end of December, so she's 3 months old today, I think.
Congrats, man. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Baby girl or boy?
Yeah, girl. A baby girl, a boy, and a baby girl.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That's fun. You get them out in the garden with you too, and
Oh, totally. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, my son, he's like he's dying for work days. You know, he loves a new tractor, obviously.
yeah.
But he loves plants too. Like he runs around and he knows all the herbs he can eat. And he's like dying to eat mint and different things, rosemary and thyme, and what else is he gets into sage. Like he'll get, he just like he'll go out there and he'll tell everybody about what the different plants are. If you ask him about what plants I grow, he'll oh daddy, don't forget sky cutler kush. Oh daddy, don't forget. Ask him. He's like, what about Black Lime Reserve, Dad? So he'll be right on it. Like I don't filter with him at all. I mean, a little bit, obviously, like, but I try to like, I want him to experience all this and it to be normal, and it is normal, and this is our life, and so he's like fully in it. There was a time where he couldn't be in the garden, to be honest, which was stupid, in the legal garden, the recreational garden, I should say, not legal, but because you had to be 21 to go in there, but they kiboshed that for COVID.
Okay.
And so like he literally, me and him planted 4,000 seeds together. My wife like COVID hit, and she's a nurse, and so she had to go to work in the beginning of it. And it was me and him every day, and like it was like he's gonna help me.
Learning so much though.
Oh, he knows about the tiny bugs, and like he knows a ton, dude.
Yeah,
it's really cool. He knows about how to make IMO3. He's made IMO like 4 or 5 times with me.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that is cool. Somebody was people think negative about that, but like I don't know, man. Like that, like you said, the whole idea, oh, he's not allowed because he's 20, not 21. But it's like they just forget that it's like growing a plant, man. Like
it's a plant.
Yeah,
and it's medicine, and like we smoke around him, and I also have a beer around him, and I don't get drunk or do anything like irresponsible or anything, like But I call it medicine. He also knows it's called a joint, and he also knows it's called ganja and weed. And he'll say that. My wife kind of doesn't like it, whatever. But like, why can't I have any? He asked. I was like, oh, because it's going to mess your brain up until you're an adult. Your brain's not done developing, and your brain needs to develop. It's that simple. And he's like, okay, boom.
Yeah, they get it. I find it interesting.
And eventually I'll get it. The answer will get more complicated. I'll be like, yeah, it's really fucking good, but you can't have it until you're older.
Right.
Because your brain,
But as far as like life skills, I mean, the kid's still learning how, to plant a seed and it grows, it don't matter if it's tomato or cannabis.
Yeah, he's stoked on watermelons and pumpkins. We're going to do some giant pumpkins again this year.
That's cool. How big a one did you get last year?
We failed. We totally failed. Yeah, 0.
It's tougher than you think, huh?
Yeah, I think. Well, I just threw some shit. I threw some topsoil that I thought was pretty cool over there, and it just didn't work out. So,
dude, the guys still. It's actually. I did a little bit of looking into this. It is amazing what they feed those things. Absolutely amazing. Guys will spend $1,000 on their fucking 25 by 25 plot, and that's that one pumpkin, and they're just hammering them, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They know a lot of techniques that are really cool. And
I looked into them all, and I don't know where I fucked it up. I mean, it was a nutrient thing. Like they just wouldn't get going. Maybe the warmth. I gave some to my neighbors too, and they had the same issue. So I don't know. They were seeds from Minnesota, from the St. Croix Growers Group, which those guys are pretty legit, and they're like right where we used to live there. So when I saw, I was like, I gotta get their seeds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go for it again this year, and I'm gonna fucking. I don't know what I'm gonna do differently. I got good compost this year where I didn't have anything on them that last year, and I'm gonna try probably start them in pots, probably this week, and get the jump start on them.
That'll be interesting, man. I kind of want to do it. Just like, I don't know. It's one of those things where there's like absolutely zero purpose to it, right? Like, what are you gonna do with a 400-pound fucking?
What am I gonna do?
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
I'm gonna carve that motherfucker out, and I'm gonna throw it in the bay with a fucking paddle. I'm gonna paddle my ass around.
That's awesome.
That's what my wife said. What are you gonna do? I go, that's you know what I'm gonna do? I'm fucking carve that thing out, paddle around the fucking bay.
Right? Make some hella pies of that shit. Man. It's fucking yeah, the one I
What am I
seen-
gonna do? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna spend my summer growing a giant pumpkin so I can paddle around.
I was gonna say some of them. I think they're pushing like 2,000 pounds now for the records, over 2,000 pounds.
Dude.
World records. That's insane to think. And the one guy was talking, they'll put on like 50 or 60 pounds a day
Hey.
when they're really gaining weight or whatever.
Yeah.
You guys expect that. Like they totally know the stages the plant goes through, and it's like
Right.
interesting reading some of that shit. It's like, how do you feed something? Just to think that that's pulling 50. I mean, a lot of it's water, but still 50 fucking pounds a day.
Yeah. I know. I want to do it, man.
Yeah, they got certain paces that you got to be on for. I don't know how they tell how much weight it is. They got a scale under the damn thing.
I might be behind schedule already without having not started seeds. I don't know.
Yeah, you probably are, but I know like they'll have like the
If
first.
I could get to 1,000 pounds, I would feel pretty good. Like my second or first try. You know what I mean?
Dude, a
Something
200
like that.
pumpkin would be pretty fucking good. You might even be able to paddle in that bitch. I don't know how big they get like that, but it's just one of the things that's intriguing to me. Like I know it's zero. I'm not gonna be able to, I guess, carve it out and scare the kids, grow it in the front yard or something, and jump out, scare kids at Halloween or some shit.
Makes so much pumpkin soup. Just like so much pumpkin soup.
I've only had pumpkin soup once in my life. It actually ain't bad. I will say that it's not bad, but different. Is that something you guys do a lot of? Pumpkin soup?
No, I don't know. I feel like I'm always surprised about how good pumpkin is. But we don't cook with it enough. I've had like pumpkin curry a couple of times. It's really delicious.
Huh.
And it's just like a squash, you know. There's all different kinds, and I feel like we should use it more. We don't, you know. That's one thing I'm going to try to grow a lot more squash this year. Now that I have the tractor, I'm going to like till a little field, a little quarter-acre plot, and do squash and corn, and just try to load up on that.
That's cool. Do you run any other animals like ducks or chickens?
I have ducks. I don't right now, but typically I have ducks. I got some on the way. I have a couple chickens, and I want to get goats and sheep and cows.
What about rabbit?
I don't want to do rabbits. I mean, I know the benefits of the rabbit shit is awesome, but my son may want to do it, but I don't. I'm just it's not interesting to me right now.
No.
Yeah, I know all the benefits, but I want to go out and play with a cow right now. That's like, you know, or goat or sheep, and like interact with them, and like that's fun to me.
Yeah, that sounds cool. Do like grow like the Wagyu beef or some shit.
Yeah, totally, 100%, dude.
Massage them for 40 every day.
Make them beer. I'll brew them beer, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy the stuff they do.
I will totally brew that beer.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
It's interesting, man. Like, yeah, that's one of them ideas too of like, you know, the steps taken growing the cow is a totally different result. You know what I'm saying? By the diet they eat, by the
right
exercise or whatever they get.
No, so like when I my like intro to, like, I was smoking weed and had started growing, and then I got hit by a car, and that changed everything for me. And so I started growing weed seriously, and I didn't think I would do it forever. I was like still under the fear thing, the societal thing of it, you know, and thought, okay, this is a short-term means to an end. Like, I don't want to be a drug dealer for the rest of, you know, my life type thing. And so I spent a bunch of time reading about organic gardening and organic farming, and a ton of time, man. And I got into pastured poultry and pastured beef and Joe Salatin and organic vegetables. And my big vegetable gardening guru was John Jevons. I don't know if you ever checked him out.
Yeah.
That guy's super dope. And so I just got into all this stuff, and like, I you know, so like I still want to get back to that. Like I had a vegetable farm for a little bit, but you know, I've been growing weed for a minute now. And so I just want to incorporate all those things. I just haven't been able to do it, you know, but I want to do it on a real small scale, you know.
Well, I like the idea of that too, is like even growing in the ground the way you do, even though, you know, the greenhouse is separated, you could grow whatever you're growing in between your greenhouse or whatever. You know, the land around like your garden is even going to eventually be connecting biology with what's in your
Totally
soil. And like, so the concept of some of that stuff, I mean, this goes back to, shout out to BG or Brown Guy 420, when he was doing that. And he's kind of the one that was talking about that, where he was growing the red clover around all the greenhouses too, you know what I mean? And then in the soil. So it's like eventually when your biology all connects, that's going to be like a super system, you know? So even with your
it's
garden,
such a hard, long process, you know, and yeah, I just like, I don't know. For me, anyways, I haven't been funded, and I'm just mostly have been one dude, and so like, there's so many cool things that I would like to do, that I just haven't been able to do, or haven't been able to afford to do. For all those, it's mostly afford, but like, I dream of the day that I could just like, and that's most of the reason I got this tractor, and I haven't got the wood chipper attachment yet, but like, this tractor is a wood chipping fucking machine. I have woods. I have piles of woods logs waiting to be chipped. You know, I got the claw to grab them on the way. Next up, you know, purchase is the wood chipper. But I would just love to have 12 inches of wood chips over my whole fucking garden, you know?
yeah,
Every fucking where, and just let the mycelium just like, you know, interweb through all that shit. And then just then go through and just like broadcast mixed cover crops, just like whatever the fuck, and let it just go fucking absolute haywire, you know, and trample down the pathways.
I like it.
That's kind of the way I like, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people think negative,
but it takes so long to do all this stuff, and there's so many failures, at least for me, because I'm learning all this, you know. And so you know, this whole where I live, I have about 3 feet of topsoil, and then it's clay. And if you talk to Elaine Ingham, she's like, "Oh yeah, you just got to get biology on that shit, and it's going to fix it." You know, the biology will seep down through the clay and start to break it up, and then everything will be able to drain through. Maybe in time. Right now, that's across my whole entire county. That's how it is. Like, you know, this shit ain't going anywhere, you know, and everyone I talk to, that's just how it is. Everyone's property is the same way, and everything is all about drainage. You have to put in drains. So that's one thing I'm doing right now is I had that, and luckily I made that pond with the stream, and I can drain everything into it. And that was my whole plan, was to get all my rain water off my greenhouses to drain in there. But what I actually has to do is, for even just when it rains, because with only 3 feet of topsoil, it takes about, you know, a couple good rains to fill that up, and then it's flood.
Yeah,
it's literally just flooded, and it's like that for most of the year. You know, like, I can't access most of my property, you know. And so around my greenhouse and my garden, I'm putting in these different drain tiles that we're putting in, basically French drains, you know, systems. And once that's done, now I can just keep putting on the wood chips in the biology and letting it fucking rock and roll again over those. And it's mostly in pathways and stuff like that, you know, where we're doing it. But it's just like I guess the example was it's just another thing I'm like learning, and like I kind of view it as maybe, you know, it's like this lifelong, you know,
continual process. It is.
It's a lifelong work, a lifelong piece of art. You know, hopefully, I you know, in 15, 20 years, when I'm like 60 years old, I'm just gonna be like, all right, this is fucking epic, and like I'll just be able to sit down and chill, you know, and like and just enjoy that fucking thing, you know.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever stop, man.
No, I probably
I don't
won't.
see that. Do you think there'll ever be a spring where you're not like, man, what do we got planting? What do we got going on?
No, I'll always be planting for sure.
It's in you, you know what I mean? It's like you can't stop.
At some point, I got to slow down, you know, maybe just turn the whole thing over to open pollination. It's just going to get simpler. Just like, oh, yeah, fuck that. I'll open pollinate the whole goddamn field. Watch me.
Josh running through the field.
Yeah.
You know, there's some thought behind some of that too. I mean, like a lot of the guys talk about that bottlenecking and different things too, and I like that. You know, like I don't know, maybe there needs to be some people that are throwing, you know, all the boys out there with all the girls and just fucking letting them do, you know, what they normally would do.
They do with every other vegetable. There's, you know, like I like the Uprising Seeds is one company I buy from. That they only have open pollinated vegetables, and that doesn't mean they have one tomato. They have like a bunch of different tomato varieties. They're just open pollinated different varieties, you know. They've done the work.
So they come out more stable that way, is what you're saying? If
they come out stable, you know. Eventually the genetics will bottleneck themselves. That's the thing.
Okay.
You know, is you're essentially letting the genetics and the terroir or the environment do the bottlenecking.
Because the dominant ones will be the ones that are gonna
right versus you doing the bottlenecking by choosing
it. Yeah. Huh.
And then so the other thing is it just naturally works out through the environment, you know, so that they work for that environment. So like works really well if you want to, like if I want to grow tomatoes in this area, I should buy my tomatoes from this company that's in my county that grows open pollinated tomatoes.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't realize that was the case on, I guess the way you're saying it, it makes sense now with the like open pollination. I always looked at as, I think a lot of people do, like when they refer to land race as like, or land race or heirloom or whatever as being like the wolf, right? And now we can breed it down to a Chihuahua, but you never get the wolf back. But like, some of that is, under the idea, like too, like if you took a wolf out of the wild and put it in your yard, it's not exactly gonna behave the same. Or
it's not going to behave the same. Well, and it's not to say there's not variation, right? It's not like right. It's not to say there's not in every. You know, I could get to like you could get to a point where I don't. There's lots of combinations there, right? You could get to the point where you have a lot of consistency, or that you could have a lot of variation, or you could have like there's combinations within that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine it's always still a numbers game. Like they're still always running the percentages. It's just adding a extra variable every boy, right? Basically.
Right.
But if it's the same lineage, so yeah, it's interesting, man. Cool. Trying to think. I really don't got any other questions for you, man. If you,
yeah, man.
Time, and I always enjoyed talking with you, though. So I can sit
here
bullshit all night too. So
we went the long haul.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. I think you dropped a lot of bombs tonight for sure, and I'm sure a lot of people were enjoying. I hope help everybody pull one idea out, you know, at least, and give some people some new stuff to try this spring, and you know, a little different perspective on where you think about it. So that's the neatest part, is everybody's got different perspectives based off what they've read and what they've learned or listened to, or who they enjoy listening to, or vice versa, whatever, you know. And it's like we all kind of formulate our own little idea of how things go and should go, and I always gain ideas hearing different people's thoughts on it. So
Just looking at some of these comments and stuff.
yeah, dude, it's hard to catch those while you're talking.
Yeah.
So shout out, we got a great chat too. I know you've been on Ego before too, and whatever, but I love all the chat, man. They crack me up every night. A lot of good people there. So
Yeah. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, Justin.
oh, has he got any secret
Chad
on the site? Yeah, they were asking about some of the, I think the seeds on there or something. But now, do you just add stuff frequently to that, or are there certain times a year where you're adding, or are the breeders kind of everybody's doing?
I just started it last year, so I'm just kind of figuring it out.
Mhm.
Basically, I got in a bunch of stock and sold through it, and most of it, and now I've just been re-upping with different people, and I'm kind of leaning more towards drops.
Yeah.
Because it works with my style, lifestyle just a little bit better to like do a drop, get a mailing out rather than it coming in every day all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of leaning towards that, and I might just start doing mostly that, you know. I don't know. But right now, I had the website got shut down with credit card processing.
Oh shit.
Yeah, these fuckers, dude, they're coming for everybody, and so I had to rebuild it and get a new credit card processor, and so I'm in the midst of that, and that should be done maybe in the next couple of days, hopefully, and then I'll be able to get a bunch more shit up.
It's so fucked up that they fuck
Yeah,
with
dude. So
on
I had to jump
side.
through all these hoops and like, yeah,
It's always something, man. I feel for
Yeah.
you. But I know you've been struggling every year for something in this, and
it's
they
just
put up a
it's life,
fence
man.
too, or something. You had to expense you weren't planning on there, and the fence
Oh,
had to be
tons,
taller
dude.
or
Yeah,
some shit. Like
I have
that's
huge neighbor issues. Like, life's a struggle, you know. There's no doubt there, but like, um, I don't know. For the most part, like I'm on the up right now, dude. And I just feel like I've worked through a lot of the hard shit, you know, and the market's kind of gotten better, and it's probably gonna get worse again for a minute, but um, I don't know. I think I've got myself into a good spot where I can take care of my family. Which is the only goal. That's why I keep kind of saying that. Like that really is my only goal. You know, is just to fucking take care of my family and grow weed and have fun doing it and smoke a lot of weed and you know.
yeah, no doubt, dude. That's the dream right there. Take care of the family and enjoy life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's like I totally understand that for sure. I love it. Well, cool, man. I might close this one out. I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
let's do it, man.
here too, and I'll let you hop out, and I'll shut her down, and kind of go from there. But I definitely appreciate you, brother, and yeah, I'm sure we'll stay in touch. So.
All right, man. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for chilling. I wish I could watch the chat better. Peace.
Yeah, have a good one, man. Cool, guys. I appreciate everybody hanging out. Sorry, neglected chat a little bit. I'll probably flip back through some of these, but I do definitely appreciate you guys all. And Josh was awesome. Great time hanging out and talking with him. And I hope everybody kind of got one or two notes down for their outdoor prepping or whatever they got going on. So yeah, I'm gonna shut her down and probably fire up the wormhole here in a little bit, and we'll see you guys all there. And yeah, man, it's I do appreciate all the support for this and all the kind words being said. You know, I guess if anything, I'll echo ego and say do something nice for somebody else, and
Random acts of kindness. So, yeah, I appreciate all